The waiter had a chair in one hand and my missing place card in the other. He was young enough to call me ma'am with real concern. "Excuse me, Mrs. Mercer. Are you seated at this table?" Before I could answer, Marissa turned from the centerpiece she was adjusting for the third time. "She doesn't need a seat," she told him. "She'll be helping us. Not might help, not had offered to help. She'll be helping us." My daughter-in-law said it as casually as she might have said the water glasses needed refilling. Evan stood beside her, close enough that the sleeve of his tuxedo brushed her bare shoulder. He heard every word. I looked at my son. For 1 second, his face changed. His eyes moved from the waiter to the chair to me, and I watched him understand exactly what had happened. I also watched him search for the version of it that would require the least from him. There are moments when a whole relationship balances on a sentence. Evan had dozens available to him. "That's my mother. She's a guest. Give her my chair." Instead, he glanced toward the crowded ballroom and said, "Mom, it's just until dinner settles down." That was when I understood the missing chair wasn't a mistake. 7 hours earlier, I had been on my knees under Marissa's dressing table with a flashlight between my teeth, looking for an earring nobody had actually lost. "It's the pearl drop," Marissa said behind me, "the one my mother gave me." "I know which one." "Maybe it rolled behind the radiator. There is no radiator." "The vent, then." I moved a satin shoe, 2 makeup brushes, and a champagne cork. The hotel suite smelled like hairspray, hot curling irons, and the gardenias in Marissa's bouquet. 6 women in matching blue robes stepped around me as if 63-year-old women commonly came with the carpet. Marissa's Aunt Denise was holding the supposedly incomplete pair of earrings in her palm. "Are these not them?" she asked. Everybody stopped. Marissa touched both ears, then laughed. One pearl was already hanging from the left one. "Oh my God, I'm wearing it." The room released a collective breath. I backed out from under the table, rubbing one knee. Good news. I also found a champagne cork. So the day is saved twice. Denise laughed harder than the joke deserved. Marissa did too, but hers came out thin and quick. "You're a lifesaver, Lorraine." She said that often. I had begun to suspect a person could drown from being called a lifesaver too many times. My emergency bag sat open near the window. It was a navy canvas tote Marissa had given me at her bridal shower, with Mother of the Groom printed across the front in gold letters. She had filled it with a typed list of things I should bring: aspirin, antacid, stain remover, safety pins, tissues, clear nail polish, sewing kit, double-sided tape, granola bars, breath mints, phone chargers, and anything else you think we might need. I had added scissors, bandages, 2 kinds of thread, and a small screwdriver because experience had taught me that anything else was a wide category. My sister-in-law, Paula, appeared in the doorway wearing one false eyelash higher than the other. "Florists downstairs," she said. "Wrong entrance." Marissa closed her eyes. "I'll go," I said. "Could you?" Her eyes opened again, bright with relief. "I don't know what we'd do without you." There it was. Paula looked at me over Marissa's shoulder. She was my late husband, Tom's younger sister, and had inherited his ability to communicate entire paragraphs by moving one eyebrow. In the hallway, she said, "If you save one more life before noon, they're going to put your picture on an ambulance. It's a wedding. Everybody's temporarily insane. Not me. Your eyelashes are in different time zones." She stopped walking and grabbed my arm. "Why didn't you tell me? I thought it was a choice." She marched back toward the suite, muttering something about beauty being a scam. I took the service elevator downstairs. The florist had unloaded 6 tall arrangements beside the conference center entrance instead of the ballroom doors. Nothing was ruined. Nobody was dead. The delivery man was sweating through his green polo and apologizing as if he had dropped the bride. I showed him where the ballroom was, found a luggage cart, and helped move the smaller arrangements because standing there watching him struggle would have felt rude. Halfway through, my phone rang. Evan. "Hey, Mom. Weird question. Those are always my favorite. Do you have Dad's cufflinks? I stopped beside a cart full of white roses. You have Dad's cufflinks. I thought I did. You put them in the inside pocket of your garment bag. A pause. Are you sure? I was there when you did it. I checked. Did you check the inside pocket? I checked a pocket. Evan, could you come up? The groom and his friends were getting ready 3 floors above the bridal suite. When I arrived, the room looked like a menswear store after a mild earthquake. Jackets hung from lamps. Someone had left a room service hamburger beside a polished dress shoe. Evan stood in front of the mirror with his white shirt open at the throat, looking handsome and irritated. He had Tom's dark hair, though he wore his shorter, and Tom's gray eyes, though Evan's gave away less. At 35, he had grown into the kind of man strangers trusted with directions. Calm voice, steady hands, good posture. Nobody seeing him then would have guessed he had called his mother because he couldn't find a pocket. "Give it to me," I said. He handed over the black garment bag. I unzipped the inner compartment and took out the small green box. His friend Marcus made a game show noise. And the mother of the groom wins the showcase. Evan smiled, embarrassed. I swear I looked there. You looked with your hands. Men have to look with their eyes, too. Marcus pointed at me. That should be embroidered on a pillow. Evan opened the box. The silver cufflinks were square, plain except for a fine line engraved around each edge. Tom had worn them to our wedding, then to every event he considered important enough to complain about wearing a tie. For a moment, Evan didn't touch them. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah." He picked one up and turned it between his fingers. His voice lowered. "I wish he was here." It was the first thing anyone had said all day that made the day feel real. I reached up and straightened his collar. "So do I." He looked at me then. Not past me, not toward the next task. At me. "You look beautiful, Mom." I had chosen a dark green dress with sleeves that made my arms look better than they had any right to. "You sound surprised." "I didn't mean, I know." I smiled. "You look pretty good yourself." He laughed and bent his head while I fastened the cufflinks. For those few quiet seconds, the hotel noise faded. I could almost feel Tom beside us, pretending the dampness in his eyes was an allergy. Then Evan's phone buzzed. He checked it. "Marissa needs to know if you brought the emergency bag. Marissa has seen the emergency bag." "Okay, I'm just telling you." The room came back all at once. The music from someone's speaker, Marcus arguing about socks, the hamburger smell. I pressed the second cufflink into place. Done. Evan kissed my cheek. "Love you. Love you too." By the time the ceremony began, I had redirected the flowers, found an iron, repaired Denise's hem, produced antacid for Marissa's father, and removed a lipstick mark from a robe nobody would be wearing again. My emergency tote was already losing its shape. The ceremony itself was lovely. That is important. It would be easier to remember the whole day as rotten, but it wasn't. Marissa walked down the aisle with a look on her face I had never seen before, soft, almost astonished. Evan's mouth trembled when he saw her. The string quartet played a song Tom used to hum while washing dishes, though I'm sure that was a coincidence. Before Evan stepped forward to take Marissa's hand, he squeezed mine, just once. It carried me through the rest. Afterward, the photographer arranged us on the terrace. Marissa's family filled space naturally. They moved in clusters, already knowing where to put their hands. I kept ending up beside a stone planter. "Groom's mother closer," the photographer called. I stepped in. No, sorry, other side. I stepped out, walked around, and tucked myself beside Paula. "You're getting your steps," she whispered. "I'll be able to eat 2 desserts. That bag going to dinner with us?" The navy tote hung from my shoulder. Apparently, it's my date. The photographer lowered his camera. "Can we get immediate family only?" Nobody moved at first. It was a tiny confusion, the sort that shouldn't matter. Marissa looked toward her parents. Evan looked toward Marissa. I stood beside Paula, waiting to find out whether I was immediate. Then Evan reached for my hand and pulled me forward. "Mom, come on." I hated how grateful I felt. Inside the ballroom, servers moved between round tables with trays of sparkling water and wine. The place cards were arranged alphabetically on a table draped in white linen. I found Mercer, Evan, Mercer, Marissa, Cole, Denise, Cole, Ronald, no Lorraine. I checked twice, then a third time more slowly. Paula found hers and held it up. Table 6, I'm with 2 people named Chip. That feels excessive. Do you see mine? She scanned the cards. Maybe they put you under lifesaver. I'm serious. Her smile faded. Marissa called my name from across the room. She stood beside the gift table, pointing to a stack of ivory favor boxes. Could you make sure one of these gets put at every place? They missed the back tables. I looked from her to the favor boxes, then down at my tote. That was when the waiter approached us carrying a chair he had taken from against the wall. He had found my place card on the floor beneath the family table. Whether it had fallen or been dropped, I couldn't tell. He showed it to me. Table 1. Relief came first. Small, foolish, immediate relief. Then he counted the settings. Every place was occupied. "Excuse me, Mrs. Mercer," he said. "Are you seated at this table?" Marissa turned. "She doesn't need a seat. She'll be helping us." I looked at Evan, and this time he didn't reach for my hand. "Mom," he said, "it's just until dinner settles down. You know how crazy today's been." The waiter stared very carefully at the chair he was holding. I slid the navy tote from my shoulder. The gold letters flashed beneath the ballroom lights. Mother of the groom. "I came here as your mother," I said, "not as extra staff." Evan's jaw tightened. "Can we please not do this today?" I set the emergency bag on the empty chair. "I'm not doing anything today," I told him. "That's the point." For a second, no one moved. The band was playing something soft and expensive behind us. Glasses clinked. A server passed with a tray of little pastry cups filled with goat cheese, and one of them slid sideways when she slowed to look. Marissa recovered first. "What does that mean?" she asked. "It means I'm going home." Her eyes widened, not with guilt, but disbelief. "You can't be serious." "I'm very serious." "Lorraine, we need those favors put out before dinner." I almost laughed. Not because anything was funny. Sometimes the truth arrives so naked that all you can do is admire its nerve. Evan took my elbow. His fingers were firm without quite being a grip. "Mom, come over here." He guided me several feet away near a folding screen the hotel had placed in front of the service doors. Marissa followed. So did the waiter, still holding the chair because no one had told him what to do with it. "Could you give us a minute?" Evan said to him. The waiter looked at me. "It's okay," I told him. It wasn't, but he had done enough. He carried the chair away. My place card remained on its seat beneath the emergency tote. Evan leaned close. "What are you doing?" "I told you." "No, you're making a scene." I looked around. Most people were talking, drinking, finding their tables. A few had noticed us, but not many. "Then lower your voice." Marissa folded her arms over the front of her wedding dress. I remembered crawling under a table for the earring she was already wearing and had to look away from her. "There was a seating issue," she said. "We're trying to handle it. You handled it by not giving me a seat. You're not the only person who's been asked to help today. I'm probably the only person whose name is printed on that bag." "Oh, come on." Her voice cracked at the edges. "This is exactly why I didn't want to tell you ahead of time. I knew you'd make it personal." That landed so cleanly, I stopped breathing for a second. Evan shot her a look. "Marissa." "What?" she said. "We had a plan. She said she wanted to help." I said I wanted to help with the wedding. I didn't say I wanted to attend it standing up. "You would have sat eventually." "Where?" "At one of the tables." "Which one?" Marissa glanced toward the room as if a spare seat might identify itself out of loyalty. Evan rubbed a hand over his mouth. The silver edge of Tom's cufflink flashed beneath his sleeve. "Mom, dinner is what, an hour? Maybe an hour and a half? There's a lot happening. Could you just help get things settled and then we'll figure it out?" "We?" "Yes, we. You already figured it out." His face tightened. "Please don't do this today. Again. that sentence. As if the day had been created by the two of them and I had wandered into it carrying bad weather. Marissa's father approached from behind her. Ronald was a quiet man with a careful mustache and the expression of somebody who had spent 30 years hoping his name would not be called. He looked between us. "Everything all right?" "Fine," Marissa said immediately. "No," I said at the same time. Ronald's eyes dropped to the carpet. Marissa turned on me. "Can you not?" Evan stepped between us before either of us could say more. "Mom, if you leave now, people are going to notice." That was his last chance, though he didn't know it. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "I'm sorry." People are going to notice. I picked up my small green purse from beneath the emergency tote and checked for my phone and car key. The tote stayed where it was. "Tell them I got tired," I said. "Mom, it won't even be a lie." I walked away before my voice could embarrass me. Paula intercepted me beside the place card table. Her false eyelashes matched now, but one corner had started lifting. "Where are you going?" "Home." "What happened?" I glanced back. Evan stood with Marissa and Ronald near the folding screen. Marissa was speaking quickly. Evan's hand rested between her shoulder blades. My bag sat on the empty chair. Paula followed my eyes. "Lorraine." "I don't have a place to sit." "What do you mean?" "Exactly that." She looked at the family table, counting with her lips. I watched her reach the number twice and dislike it both times. "That can't be right." "It is. I'll switch with you." The offer was immediate and kind, which made it hurt worse. "I'm not taking your chair. I don't care. Put me with the chips. I'll make them fight for it." "No. Then we'll pull up another." The waiter tried. Understanding moved across her face slowly. "They knew?" I didn't answer. Behind us, the band leader tapped his microphone and welcomed everyone to the celebration of Evan and Marissa Mercer. Applause filled the ballroom. Paula touched my wrist. "Let me come with you. You should stay. I don't want you driving upset. I'm not drunk, I'm disappointed. That's worse for your eyesight." Despite myself, I smiled. She squeezed my wrist. "Please don't go off by yourself." "I live by myself, Paula. It's not the same as going off." Her mouth pulled to one side. "Call me when you get home." I promised I would. The walk through the hotel lobby seemed much longer than it had that morning. People in ordinary clothes passed me carrying shopping bags and paper coffee cups. A man in shorts argued cheerfully with a vending machine. Two women near the front desk admired my dress and asked if I was going to a wedding. "I was," I said. Outside, the evening air felt cool against my face. I reached my car and discovered a strip of double-sided fashion tape stuck to the heel of my shoe. That nearly finished me. All day I had carried tools for every possible emergency. Stains, headaches, torn hems, loose straps, dead phones, nervous stomachs. I had prepared for every disaster except being unnecessary in the room where I was needed most. I sat behind the wheel but didn't start the engine. Through the ballroom wall came the muffled bass of the bandleader's voice, then cheers, then the first notes of Evan and Marissa's song. I knew the song. Marissa had sent it to me months earlier and asked if it was too predictable. I told her predictability was underrated when it came to love. Colored light moved behind the tall windows. Their first dance had begun. I pictured Evan with one hand at Marissa's waist. I pictured her looking up at him, the hard shine gone from her face. I pictured Tom leaning toward me if he had been there, whispering something inappropriate about the price of the flowers. Then I pictured the empty chair that had held my name and my bag, but not me. I cried hard enough that I had to wait 20 minutes before driving. At home, I left the green dress in a heap on the bathroom floor. I had bought it 4 months earlier and kept the receipt in case Marissa decided the color photographed badly. She never did. She had called it elegant. In my robe, I stood in the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. There was half a container of chicken soup, 3 yogurts, a lemon, and the small bottle of champagne Evan had given me the night before. For after, he had said. I shut the refrigerator. My phone showed 7 missed calls, 3 from Paula, 4 from Evan. There were 2 messages. The first from Paula said, Your bag is with me. I'm not leaving it at that table. The second was from Evan. Mom, where are you? People keep asking. Call me back. That was all. I called Paula and told her I was home. She asked if she could come over. I told her no. She asked if I was sure. I said yes until she believed me enough to hang up. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. Sleep came in pieces. Every time I woke, I thought I heard music from somewhere far away. At 8 the next morning, I turned my phone back on. Evan called before it finished loading. Do you know what time I got to bed? He asked. Good morning to you too. Mom, seriously, I don't know what time you got to bed. Almost 4. I hope you had a good time. He gave a sharp laugh. That's what you're going with? I sat at the kitchen table. Sunlight fell across 2 placemats because I had never gotten around to putting one away after Tom died. What would you like me to go with? I'd like you to explain why you walked out of my wedding. You were there. I was also getting married. I couldn't chase you through the parking lot. I didn't ask you to. No, you just left and made everybody wonder what happened. What did you tell them? That you weren't feeling well. That was considerate. Don't. His voice had that flatness it got when he wanted the other person to become unreasonable so he could become calm. I put the phone on speaker and started the coffee maker. My hands needed something ordinary to do. Marissa spent half the reception thinking people were talking about her, he said. Were they? That isn't the point. It seems close to the point. The point is, we needed help for 1 hour. 1 hour, Mom. You've done more than that for people you barely know. I wasn't invited to their weddings as their mother. Nobody said you weren't invited. Where was I supposed to sit, Evan? There was a mix-up. What was the mix-up? The seating was tight. Where was I supposed to sit? You could have pulled up a chair after dinner was served. To which table? I don't know. Any table. The waiter was holding a chair. Your wife told him I didn't need it. She was stressed. I was tired. You weren't the bride. The coffee maker hissed. I rested both hands on the counter and looked out the window above the sink. Tom had planted a lilac bush along the fence. It had grown too wide on one side because I kept forgetting to trim it after it bloomed. Did you know? I asked. Know what? That I didn't have a seat. Another pause. There was confusion with the final count. That's not what I asked. Mom, there were 120 people there. I did not personally inspect every chair. Did you know Marissa expected me to work during dinner? I knew you were helping. You heard her tell the waiter I didn't need a seat and you agreed. I was trying to keep things moving. I looked right at you. His breath came through the speaker. I could see him in some hotel room still wearing the t-shirt he slept in, one hand pressed against his forehead. I wanted to ask if he had eaten. The question rose automatically, shamefully tender. I swallowed it. People noticed you were gone, he said. Aunt Paula disappeared for 20 minutes. Denise had to pass out the favors. Marcus ended up helping the photographer find the memory card case because your emergency bag was gone. My bag wasn't gone. I left it on the chair. Well, Paula took it. That sounds like a problem you solved. You really don't care, do you? The accusation was so childish that for 1 weak second I almost gave him what he wanted. I almost said of course I cared. I almost apologized for leaving, then explained my hurt gently enough that he could forgive me for having it. Instead, I poured 1 cup of coffee. You planned a room for 120 people, I said. You saved a seat for every one of them except me. You could have found a chair. A chair was never the problem. Then what was? You decided I didn't require one. He was quiet. I thought, finally. Then he said, I can't believe you punished me on the most important day of my life. The coffee tasted too hot and bitter. I can't believe you thought the most important day of your life was one I should spend on my feet serving everybody else. That is not what happened. It's exactly what happened. No, what happened is you made a misunderstanding into some big statement about how nobody appreciates you. I stared at the second placemat. Did you miss me? I asked. What? At the reception. Did you miss me, or were you just embarrassed people noticed? He didn't answer quickly enough. When he finally spoke, his voice had gone cold. "We're leaving for our trip this afternoon. I'm not spending the morning fighting." "Then don't. I'll call you when we get back and you've had time to calm down." "I am calm." "Sure, Mom." He hung up. I stood in the quiet kitchen holding a cup I no longer wanted. A minute later, my phone buzzed with a text from Marissa. "I'm sorry the seating confusion upset you. Yesterday was overwhelming for everyone. I hope we can move forward when we get home." I read it twice. Then I typed, "I'm sorry I left." My thumb hovered over the screen. I deleted the sentence, set the phone face down, and drank my coffee before it got cold. The doorbell rang before I finished the cup. Paula stood on the porch with my emergency tote over one shoulder and a white bakery box held flat against her chest. "I brought your belongings and stolen goods," she said. My tote looked as if it had survived a small evacuation. The zipper was open. One handle had a smear of red lipstick on it, and the gold word groom was partly covered by frosting. "What did you steal?" "Cake. 2 pieces. One for you and one for me because I had to sit with both chips." I let her in. Paula put the box on the kitchen table and lowered herself into Tom's old chair. She still had wedding makeup around her eyes. Without the false lashes, there was a pale line above each lid that made her look tired and oddly young. "You didn't go home," I said. "I stayed at the hotel. I had wine and wedding cake. Driving seemed like an ambitious hobby." I set another mug under the coffee maker. "How bad was it?" Paula watched the machine drip. "Do you really want to know?" "No." "Then it was fine." "Paula." She sighed. "People noticed?" "Not everybody. Most of them were busy eating things on sticks. Denise asked where you were. Marcus asked. The photographer kept looking for you during family pictures. I'd already done family pictures. There were more." "Of course there were. Evan told people you felt sick." I handed her the coffee. "He told me." I said that was strange because you looked healthy when your son failed to give you a chair. "You said that?" "Not to everybody." "How many is not everybody?" 4. Maybe 5 if Ronald heard me. But Ronald has the survival instincts of a houseplant. I sat across from her. "I don't want you fighting with them for me." "Who said I was fighting?" "I was informing." "That's fighting with better grammar." She opened the bakery box. Inside were 2 slices of white cake with pale yellow filling. One had a blue sugar flower crushed into its frosting. "I got you the larger piece," she said. "I don't want cake." "I know. That's why I got you the larger piece." She pushed it toward me. The sweetness in the air turned my stomach. I closed the box. Paula wrapped both hands around her mug. "He looked for you." "When?" "After the first dance. He came over and asked if you'd called me. I told him you were home." "Did he call?" "I assume so." "He did. He was upset. That makes 2 of us. I'm not defending him. You're about to." Her lips pressed together. I was going to say he looked torn. "Between what?" "You and his wife." "I wasn't asking him to leave with me." "I know. I was asking him to notice I had nowhere to sit." "I know." "Then he wasn't torn. He made a choice and felt bad about it." Paula glanced toward the window. We had known each other for 37 years, long enough that silence between us could be specific. This one said I was right, and she wished I were less right. She reached for the tote and began taking things out. The sewing kit was open. 3 safety pins clung to the lining. The stain remover had no cap, and somebody had replaced my good scissors with a plastic butter knife. "Marcus used the screwdriver on the photographer's case," she said. "Denise used the tape. I have no idea what happened to the scissors. Probably cutting ribbon." There were plenty of scissors at the gift table. Mine were closer. Paula set a crumpled packet of antacid beside the coffee mugs. "When I saw this bag sitting on that chair, it looked like they'd invited the bag and not you." The sentence hurt more than anything she had said so far. I reached across the table and turned the gold lettering face down. Paula watched me do it. "What did Marissa say this morning?" "How do you know she said anything?" "Because a person can apologize by text without hearing the other person answer." I handed her my phone. She read the message and snorted. "I'm sorry, the seating confusion upset you." "That's not an apology. That's a weather report, I know. Did you reply?" "No, good, I almost did." "What were you going to say? That I was sorry I left?" Paula slid the phone back to me. "Are you?" "Yes." She blinked. "You are?" "I'm sorry I missed the dance. I'm sorry I wasn't there when Evan gave his toast. I'm sorry people asked questions and he had to lie. I'm sorry I bought a dress for a dinner I didn't eat. Being right doesn't make any of that pleasant. But would you leave again?" I looked at my tote. "Yes." "Then don't apologize." "It isn't that simple." "No, it's actually more simple. You can regret the cost without regretting the decision. That sounds like something printed on a wooden sign. I can put it on a pillow. Marcus knows a woman." I laughed once, and then, to my embarrassment, started crying again. Paula came around the table. She didn't tell me to stop or say Evan loved me. She stood beside my chair with one hand on my shoulder while the coffee went cold. Before she left, she put the cake in my refrigerator and took the uncapped stain remover with her. "I have a spare cap somewhere," she said. "Why would you have a spare cap?" "Because I'm related to you." After she drove away, I carried the tote upstairs. My green dress was still on the bathroom floor. In daylight, it looked less elegant. There was dirt along the hem from the parking lot and a dark spot where I had dripped mascara near the neckline. I shook it out and found a strip of fashion tape stuck to the back. For a while, I stood there holding the dress. Then I hung it in the guest room closet without cleaning it. Evan and Marissa left for their trip that afternoon. I knew because Paula knew, and Paula knew because Denise posted a photograph of them at the airport holding matching drinks. No one told me directly. I had promised to water the plants at their house while they were gone. Sunday evening, I drove over with the spare key on my ring. Their house still carried the wedding morning in it. A suit bag lay across the couch. 2 champagne flutes sat in the sink with something dried and pink in the bottom. Open cards covered the dining table, mixed with tissue paper and ribbon. The air smelled faintly of lilies because someone had left a bouquet in a vase without enough water. I filled the vase. I watered the plants. I brought in the mail. Usually, I would have washed the glasses. I stood at the sink with my hand on the faucet. It would take 30 seconds. Less. I was already there. Leaving them dirty felt childish, as if the glasses had offended me personally. Then I thought about all the 30-second jobs that had become my shape in their lives. I left the glasses where they were. On my way out, I noticed an unopened box near the front door labeled "Wedding Returns." A sticky note on top in Marissa's handwriting said, "Sort with Lorraine." I didn't know when she had written it. Maybe before the wedding. Maybe she planned to ask instead of assume. Maybe the word "with" meant she expected to be there too. Still, my name looked less like a name than an instruction. I locked the door and went home. The wedding photographs started appearing online over the next few days. Paula called to warn me before I saw them. "You look good in green," she said. "I looked good in green before the photographs. There's one of you laughing. That was probably when you told me your eyelash had migrated. I looked good too, for a woman being attacked by adhesives. I found the pictures that night. Marissa walking down the aisle, Evan fastening his jacket, Ronald dancing stiffly with his daughter, Denise laughing beside the cake. The family portrait showed me at the far end, one shoulder turned slightly away because the photographer had moved me twice. There were dozens from the reception. I wasn't in any of them. That was reasonable. I had left. Still, it felt strange to see proof that the celebration had continued so completely. The room had filled the space I left without effort. A woman named Cheryl, one of Marissa's co-workers, had written beneath a photograph, "Beautiful families coming together." I closed the page. Denise called the next afternoon. I considered letting it ring, but that would have created more mystery than answering. "Lorraine, honey," she said, "how are you feeling?" "I'm fine." "Oh, good, we were worried. Evan said you got sick." "I wasn't sick." Silence. "Oh," she said, "I must have misunderstood." "No, that's what Evan told people." "Then why did you leave?" I looked at the lilac bush outside my kitchen window. There wasn't a seat for me. Another silence. Longer this time. At the family table? At any table? That doesn't make sense. It didn't to me either. I'm sure there was some mistake. Marissa told the waiter I didn't need a chair because I'd be helping. Denise inhaled softly. I could almost hear her rearranging the memory. She had been one of the people helped. I had repaired the hem of her blue dress, then passed her the favors after the ceremony because Marissa wanted the ribbon loop straight. I didn't know, she said. I know. She was under a terrible amount of pressure. I know that too. I wish somebody had said something. I did. Denise became very interested in whether I had kept the top layer of cake. When I told her I hadn't, she promised to ask Marissa about it, and I asked her not to. By the time we hung up, I was exhausted. The following Sunday, I made tomato sauce out of habit. I chopped onions, browned meat, opened 2 cans of tomatoes, and did not realize how much I was making until I reached for the largest pot. Evan and Marissa normally came for dinner twice a month. He always said he could smell garlic from the driveway. Marissa picked around the mushrooms but denied doing it. They were away, and I had enough sauce for 8 people. I froze most of it in plastic containers, then ate 1 bowl at the kitchen table with the second placemat turned face down. They came home on a Tuesday. I expected Evan to call that night, then I expected him to call Wednesday. On Thursday, he sent a photograph to the family group chat of himself and Marissa standing beside the ocean, both of them sunburned and smiling. I reacted with a heart because not reacting would have been an announcement. He called Friday at 4:15. Hey, Mom, hey, there was traffic noise behind him. How was the trip? Good. Really good. We're still adjusting to being back. I'm glad you had a good time. A pause opened between us. I waited for him to step into it. So, he said, my car's ready at Hollis Auto. Any chance you could pick me up and run me over there? Of course. Not I'd like to see you. Are you busy Thursday? The old question, wearing a different day. I looked at the clock. Paula and I had tickets to a 5:30 movie, a comedy neither of us particularly wanted to see. I could cancel. She would understand. She always understood. I can't, I said. It'll take 20 minutes. I have plans. Oh, he sounded genuinely surprised. What plans? I'm going to a movie with Paula. Can't you go to a later showing? We have tickets. I'll pay you back. That isn't the point. He exhaled through his nose. An Uber from here is going to cost $30. Then I guess the ride to the mechanic costs $30. Mom, Evan, you could just say you don't want to help me. My grip tightened around the phone. In the past, I would have rushed to deny it. I would have explained my plans, softened my refusal, and offered another solution until he felt taken care of. This time, I let the silence sit between us. You're right, I said. I don't want to. He hung up without saying goodbye. The silence after the call felt different from the others. It wasn't wounded. It was muscular. I stood in my kitchen with the phone still against my ear, listening to nothing, and felt the refusal settle into me. It was not satisfying. I had imagined boundaries would feel clean, like shutting a door against cold air. This felt more like I had broken a plate on purpose and was waiting to see who would step on it. My phone buzzed. For one hopeful second, I thought Evan was calling back. It was Paula. Are we still on for the movie, or have you found a better offer? I wrote, still on. Then, because I needed somebody to know, I added, Evan asked me to drive him to the mechanic. I said no. 3 dots appeared. Did you have plans? Yes. Then why are you confessing? I put on lipstick. Paula arrived 12 minutes early and honked from the driveway even though she knew I hated that. When I got into her car, she looked me over. That lipstick is very aggressive. It's called Cinnamon Petal. It's called You Can Take an Uber. I told him I didn't want to help. She took her foot off the brake, then put it back. You said those words? He said I could just say it, so I did. Paula stared at me. What? I'm deciding whether to be proud of you or afraid. Drive. The movie was a romantic comedy about 2 people who disliked each other because they were obviously going to fall in love. Paula ate most of the popcorn and whispered legal objections to the plot. Halfway through, she leaned over and said, That apartment is 1,200 square feet. She sells candles. Quiet. No one who sells candles has a breakfast nook in Manhattan. The woman behind us kicked Paula's seat. Afterward, we went to a diner and ordered pie. My phone stayed face down on the table. Did he call back? Paula asked. No. What did he say when you told him no? He said I was making him spend $30. Tragic. We should start a fund. I could have driven him. You had plans. I could have missed the previews. Paula stirred sugar into her coffee. Do you wish you'd gone? No. Then stop trying to turn the no into a moral failure. I'm not. You've mentioned the cost of the Uber 3 times. Twice. Still a pattern. The waitress brought our pie. Mine was lemon meringue with a top so high it looked architectural. Paula cut into hers. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? That I should eat more pie. That too. I'm going to say there's a difference between not doing something because you don't want to and not doing it because you want him to hurt. I looked at her. I'm on your side, she said. That's why I'm saying it. I went to the movie because I wanted to see you. Good. And because I didn't want to be the person who cancels her own life every time Evan has a transportation problem. Also good. And if he had to stand outside Hollis Auto in the heat for 7 minutes while waiting for a car, I don't consider that a tragedy. Paula smiled. There she is. But I didn't want him to hurt. Okay. I wanted him to notice. Her smile disappeared. That was closer to the truth than I meant to get. I took a bite of pie. The lemon was sharp enough to make my jaw ache. The next morning, Evan texted, "Made it home in case you were wondering." I hadn't been wondering. I had known he would make it home because he was a grown man with a phone, a credit card, and full command of the English language. I typed, "Glad to hear it." That looked sarcastic, so I deleted it. I typed, "Good." That looked worse. I put the phone down and answered nothing. Marissa called 2 days later. I was in the grocery store comparing laundry detergent prices when her name appeared on the screen. I considered letting it ring, then answered beside a display of paper towels. "Hi, Lorraine." "Hello, Marissa." Her voice was bright in a carefully maintained way. "How are you?" "I'm fine." "Good." "That's good." A store employee rolled a pallet of canned soup behind me. I moved closer to the detergent. Marissa cleared her throat. "Evan and I wanted to see if you'd come for dinner Sunday." The word dinner made me look down at my cart. "Dinner? At our house? Just the 3 of us. What time? 6? All right." "Oh, good." Her relief was so obvious I felt cruel for noticing it. "I'm making chicken. Evan says you like that lemon chicken from the place near you, so I found a recipe. That sounds nice." Another pause. "You don't need to bring anything," she said. I wondered whether she heard herself. All right. When the call ended, I stood in the aisle holding a bottle of detergent I did not remember choosing. On Sunday, I arrived at 6 with a bottle of wine because showing up empty-handed felt unnatural. Evan opened the door before I rang. "You're early," he said. "It was 5:57. I can sit in the car for 3 minutes. I didn't mean it like that." He leaned in and kissed my cheek. His skin smelled like the aftershave Marissa had bought him for Christmas. The one he once told me made him smell like a cedar closet. "Come in." The house looked different without wedding debris. The champagne flutes were gone from the sink. The lilies had been replaced by grocery store daisies. My name was no longer sitting on a box by the door. At the dining table, 3 places had been set with cloth napkins and the white dishes I had helped Evan choose when he first moved out of his apartment. My chair was at the end. There was no reason for that to move me. It did anyway. Marissa came from the kitchen wearing an apron over jeans. She looked younger without the layers of wedding makeup. A streak of flour crossed one hip. "You came," she said. "You invited me." "Yes, I know." She wiped both hands on the apron. "I'm glad." The lemon chicken was too salty and the potatoes were underdone in the center. I ate everything on my plate. For 20 minutes we talked about their trip. Evan showed me photographs of the ocean, the room, a sunset, another sunset, and a plate of grilled fish he claimed had changed his understanding of fish. It was sea bass, Marissa said. I know, but it was different. It was grilled. You didn't even order it. I had 3 bites. You said you didn't want any. I didn't know it would change my understanding of fish. I laughed before I could stop myself. The sound loosened something in the room. Evan smiled. Marissa's shoulders lowered. For a few minutes, we were ourselves, or the version of ourselves we had been before the wedding. Then Evan reached for the wine. So Denise called us, he said. Marissa looked down at her plate. I set my fork beside the potatoes. All right. She said you told her there wasn't a seat for you. She asked why I left. She asked because she thought you were sick. That's what you told her. I was trying to protect you. From what? People thinking you walked out because you were mad. I did walk out because I was mad. His face tightened. You really don't care what anybody thinks. I care what they think. I just don't want to lie so they'll think it. Marissa folded her napkin in half, then in half again. Denise called my mother. I didn't ask her to. My mother called me crying. I didn't ask her to do that either. She thinks I excluded you from the wedding. The room went still. I looked at Marissa. Did you? Her eyes flashed. You were in the ceremony. You were in the photographs. You had a corsage. I didn't ask whether I had a corsage. Lorraine, Evan said. No, I want to understand. She says her mother thinks I was excluded. What should I tell her? Marissa pushed her plate away. I am sorry the seating got messed up. It didn't get messed up. Can we not argue over vocabulary? You decided I would be helping during dinner, so you didn't plan a place for me. That isn't a mix-up. That's a plan I wasn't told about. We thought you'd want to be involved. Involved people get to eat. You would have eaten. Where? Evan dropped his fork. We're back to the chair. We never left it. He stood and carried his plate to the kitchen. I knew this dinner was a bad idea. That's helpful, Marissa said. I'm not doing this again. You're the one who brought up Denise, because your entire family thinks you're some kind of monster now. I didn't call them. I know you didn't. He glanced at me. There it was. I reached for my wine and took a slow sip. You think I'm turning people against her? I said. I think you knew what would happen when you told Denise. Your aunt asked me a direct question. I gave her a direct answer. You could have said it was private. You could have said that when people asked where I was. Marissa stood abruptly. Her chair scraped the floor. I'm getting coffee. She walked into the kitchen. Evan stayed beside the sink with his back to us. They didn't speak, but their silence had the weight of an old argument. I wondered how many times my empty chair had already sat between them when I wasn't there. I gathered the plates and carried them in. Marissa reached for them. You don't have to do that, I know. We looked at each other. Her expression changed first, not softened exactly. Tired. I didn't think you'd mind, she said quietly. That's the problem. I know that now. Evan turned from the sink. Can we please just have coffee? We did. Marissa served it with the wedding cake Paula had stolen a piece of 2 weeks earlier. The official slices were neat and square, removed from the freezer and thawed. Mine had a blue sugar flower. I ate half. When the cups were empty, Marissa checked the time and said, Actually, while we're all here, there's something we could get done pretty quickly. She went to the front hall and returned dragging the box marked, Wedding Returns. I've made a list, she said. We have duplicates, and some things came without receipts. Lorraine, you're good at figuring out which stores carry what. I stared at the box. Marissa stopped pulling it toward the table. What? I picked up my purse. Thank you for dinner. Evan looked at me as if I had slapped the coffee from his hand. You're leaving? Yes. Because she asked for help? Because I came for dinner. And we had dinner. That doesn't turn the invitation into a work shift. Marissa's face went red. It was one box. It's never one box. Oh my God, Evan said. How long are you going to punish us? I walked toward the front door. He followed me onto the porch. Mom. I turned. You used to want to help." The accusation in his voice was real. So was the confusion. I used to think helping was how I got invited. "That's not fair." "No," I said. "It wasn't." His face closed. "If being my mother makes you feel used," he said, "maybe don't come over until you figure out what you actually want." The porch light came on between us. I stepped back, though he hadn't moved. Then I walked to my car and drove home with the taste of wedding cake still in my mouth. At the first red light, I almost turned around, not to apologize. I told myself that several times. I only wanted to finish the conversation in a better place than the porch. I wanted to tell Evan I knew he loved me. I wanted him to understand that loving someone and making room for them were not always the same thing. The light changed before I decided, and the driver behind me tapped his horn. I kept going. At home, I carried my purse into the kitchen and set it beside the face-down placemat. There was a plastic container of tomato sauce in the refrigerator. I heated some, boiled too much pasta, and ate standing at the counter because sitting down felt like admitting the evening was over. My phone stayed quiet. I drafted 3 messages to Evan. The first was an explanation. The second was an apology for leaving abruptly. The third said, "I do want to be your mother. I just don't know how to do that without disappearing inside the job." I deleted all 3. His last words followed me upstairs anyway. Figure out what you actually want. It seemed like a cruel thing to say to your mother. It also seemed like a fair question. For years, what I wanted had been easy because it was always attached to someone else. I wanted Evan to be happy. I wanted Sunday dinner to turn out well. I wanted Marissa to feel welcomed. I wanted Paula to stop buying low-fat cream cheese because no one had ever enjoyed it. Asked what I wanted with nobody else in the sentence, I had no immediate answer. The calls changed after that. Evan still phoned, but only once a week, usually while driving. Our conversations became careful exchanges of harmless information. "How's the weather there?" "The same as the weather where you are, Evan. You live 20 minutes away." "Did you get that rain?" "Yes, I received the rain." He told me the fish from their trip was still the best fish he had ever eaten. I told him the lilac bush needed trimming. Neither of us mentioned dinner, the box in the hall, or his words on the porch. Marissa sent photographs, a new lamp, the wedding album cover, Evan asleep on the couch with one sock on. I reacted to each one appropriately. Nobody asked me for anything. At first, the absence felt like rest. My evenings opened up. Saturday arrived without a grocery list for Sunday dinner. I did not spend Tuesday waiting at their house for a plumber who had given a 6-hour window. I stopped keeping mental track of whether Evan's car registration was due. Then the rest began to feel like unemployment. I hadn't understood how many of our conversations had begun with need. Without errands, there was nothing to push us past the awkward opening. Evan did not call to say he was thinking about me. I did not call because I was afraid he would hear the hope in my voice and turn it into another favor. One Thursday afternoon, my neighbor Nina Alvarez knocked holding a cardboard package. "This came to my house," she said, "unless you've secretly started ordering orthopedic sandals in size 5. That sounds more like your style. They're for my sister, and she has dainty feet. I resent her for it." Nina lived 2 doors down and had been divorced long enough to describe it as a successful medical procedure. She wore silver hoops, bright sneakers, and the expression of a woman who had already heard the excuse and rejected it. She handed me a small envelope that had been stuck beneath her box. My address, her porch. "Thanks." "What are you doing Saturday?" The question made me brace automatically. Why? That's not how people answer invitations. Is it an invitation? Now I'm reconsidering. She and 2 friends were driving to an outdoor art fair in Bellwood. In the past, I would have declined because Saturdays were when I did the shopping and prep for Sunday dinner. I almost declined out of muscle memory. "What time?" I asked. Nina narrowed her eyes. "Are you going to make me sell this?" "No." 10. Wear shoes you can complain in. The art fair was hot, crowded, and full of objects made from other objects. Nina bought a lamp constructed from an old colander. Her friend Susan bought earrings that looked like small pieces of toast. I bought nothing and enjoyed myself more than expected. We ate lunch from a food truck while sitting on a curb. No one handed me a purse to hold. No one asked whether I had brought aspirin. When Susan spilled sauce on her blouse, I almost reached into a bag I wasn't carrying. She wiped it with a paper napkin and continued eating. It was startling how easily other adults survived. Paula's birthday came the next week. I took her to breakfast and gave her a scarf she had pointed out months earlier, then denied wanting because it was too blue. She opened it in the booth and put it on immediately. "It's perfect," she said. "You're irritating, I know. You coming tonight?" Paula's birthday dinners were rarely planned so much as accumulated. People arrived at her townhouse carrying food until a meal formed. I always brought a cake and usually called Evan the day before to remind him. "I'll be there at 6. "Good." She buttered her toast. "Did you talk to Evan?" "Sunday." "Is he coming?" "I don't know." Her eyes lifted. "You didn't tell him? He knows your birthday. He knows Christmas. The rest is decorative. He's 35. He was 35 last week, too. You reminded him about his dentist." "I don't do that anymore." Paula folded her toast in half. "Because of the wedding? Because his teeth aren't my responsibility. Neither is my birthday, but I'd like him there. Then invite him." "I did. 2 weeks ago." "Good." She stirred her coffee too hard. "You always reminded him." "I know." That was all we said, but the irritation remained between us. I made her favorite chocolate cake anyway. Not because anyone asked, because I wanted to. At 5:45, I carried it into Paula's kitchen. Denise was arranging cheese on a wooden board. Ronald stood near the refrigerator opening bottles of wine. 2 neighbors I recognized were setting out glasses. Paula pointed toward the counter. "Cake there. Can you check the roast?" I checked it. The center was 20 degrees below where it needed to be. "Another half hour," I said. I knew it. Denise told me it was done. "It looked done," Denise said. "So does a couch. You don't eat it." I adjusted the oven and helped Paula find serving spoons. There was no resentment in it. She had cooked for her own birthday and the kitchen was hot. Helping her felt like a choice I was making, not admission charged at the door. At 6:30, Evan still had not arrived. At 6:42, Paula's phone rang. She looked at the screen, then at me. "Hello?" she said. I busied myself slicing bread. "Yes, tonight." A pause. "No, it's fine." Another pause. 7 is fine." She hung up. "He forgot," Denise said. "He got the date mixed up," Paula replied. "Her birthday is printed on the calendar I gave them," Denise said. Ronald examined a wine label with great concentration. Evan and Marissa arrived at 7:15 carrying grocery store flowers in a plastic sleeve and a bottle of red wine. Evan kissed Paula twice and apologized loudly. I had it in my head that it was next weekend. "I'm impressed you had it in there at all," Paula said. She smiled, but I knew her smiles. This one had edges. Marissa hugged me. "Hi, Lorraine." "Hi." Evan nodded. "Mom." "Evan." He glanced at the cake. "You made chocolate. It's Paula's favorite." "I know." He sounded defensive before anyone had accused him. Dinner was noisy enough to be comfortable until Denise asked how the wedding album was coming. Marissa said they had narrowed down the photographs but were having trouble choosing a family portrait. "There are so many combinations," she said. Paula cut into her roast. "Some combinations more immediate than others." "Paula," I said. "What?" "I'm talking about photographs." Marissa took a drink of water. Evan looked at me. "Can we have one family meal where this doesn't come up?" I didn't bring it up. "You didn't have to." The table went quiet. Paula's neighbor studied her potatoes. Denise reached for wine she did not need. Ronald looked as if he wished to become the couch we weren't eating. "This is Paula's birthday," I said. "Let's talk about something else." "I would love to," Evan said. His tone turned agreement into blame. I ate the rest of my meal without tasting it. When Paula brought out the cake, I lit the candles. Evan started the birthday song too high, and the rest of us chased him through the melody. Paula laughed halfway through and nearly blew out the candles early. For a moment, we were all right. Then the plates were empty. The guests began collecting coats, and the familiar choreography started. Denise carried 2 glasses to the kitchen and vanished into the bathroom. Ronald said he needed to warm the car. Evan and Marissa stood near the front door talking about traffic. Paula came into the kitchen while I was wrapping leftover cake. "Can you stay and help me clean up?" I looked at the counters. Serving dishes, wine glasses, the roasting pan, 9 plates with frosting stuck to them. Of course. She lowered her voice. "You could have reminded him." The foil stopped beneath my hands. He came, an hour late with flowers from the grocery store. I didn't make him forget. "No, but you knew he might. He's your nephew, Paula. You invited him. You've always been the one who keeps everybody connected." "And how is that working out?" She stepped back. "What's that supposed to mean? It means Evan forgot your birthday because nobody reminded him, and somehow I'm the person you're mad at. I'm not mad. You waited until I was alone in the kitchen." Her cheeks colored. "I'm saying you're changing the rules without telling anyone. I didn't know reminding a grown man about his aunt's birthday was a rule. You know what I mean." "No, I don't." She glanced toward the doorway and lowered her voice further. "You're making one ugly sentence at the wedding too important." I stared at her. "It was cruel," she said quickly. "What Marissa said was cruel, and Evan should have stood up for you. But now every little thing is connected to it. Rides, dishes, birthdays. How long can a family live like that?" I set the foil down. Name the last family gathering I attended where I didn't cook, carry something, clean up, drive someone, or remind everyone to show up. That's not fair. Name one. Paula opened her mouth. Nothing came out. From the front hall, Evan called, "Good night." The door closed before either of us answered. Paula looked at the kitchen around us. I had made the cake, fixed the roast, sliced the bread, and was still standing there after everyone else had gone. Neither of us said another word. I finished wrapping the cake. Then I put on my coat and left the dishes in the sink. By the time I reached my car, I was ashamed of leaving. Not because the dishes were my responsibility. They weren't. But Paula had asked me for help on her birthday, and I had wanted to help her until she blamed me for Evan forgetting. Then I left partly because it made a point. That was the difference she had warned me about at the diner. I sat behind the wheel and wrote, "I shouldn't have left you alone with that mess. I'm sorry." I sent it before I could improve the wording. She did not answer. At home, I changed into an old t-shirt, removed my earrings, and wandered downstairs again. My hands still smelled like chocolate frosting and aluminum foil. I washed them twice. There had been a time when I could be angry with someone without questioning the entire architecture of my personality. I missed that time, though I couldn't remember actually living in it. Paula replied after midnight. "I shouldn't have blamed you because a grown man forgot my birthday. We both made the sink too important. Go to bed." I wrote, "Are the dishes done?" "No." I set fire to the townhouse and moved to Ohio. I slept better than I had expected. She came by the next afternoon carrying my cake plate. There was one narrow slice left beneath plastic wrap. "You didn't have to return this so fast," I said. "I wanted you to know the dishes didn't kill me. I was worried. I lost Denise." We buried her near the roasting pan. I let her in. We sat in the living room instead of the kitchen. Paula wore the blue scarf I had given her, looped twice around her neck, although the day was warm. "I'm sorry," she said. "So am I." "No, let me say it properly. Evan forgot. I was embarrassed, and it was easier to be mad at you because you were standing there. Apparently that's my family function." She winced. "See, that? You do that now." "Do what?" "Put everything into the same bucket." I folded my hands in my lap. Maybe it's the same bucket, maybe some of it is. But if I ask you to pass the salt next Thanksgiving, I don't want to watch you debate whether your identity is being erased. That's reasonable. And if you don't want to wash dishes, don't wash dishes. I did want to. Then you should have stayed. I know. We looked at each other. There was relief in saying it. A boundary could be right, and the way I used it could still be wrong. I had spent weeks afraid that admitting one mistake would reopen every door I had closed. Paula touched the end of her scarf. I also kept thinking about your question. Which one? The last gathering where you didn't work. And? I remembered one. I waited. My wedding. You asked me to fix your veil in the church bathroom. That took 5 minutes. And your mother's zipper. 7. And we carried the flowers from the church. She frowned. Fine. I don't remember one. Neither do I. But you like doing those things. Some of them. You were good at them. I know. That was part of the trap. People rarely demand what you do badly. Paula leaned back against the couch. I don't think anybody sat down and decided to make you the family utility drawer. No. We just kept opening you whenever we needed tape. I had tape. You always had tape. We both laughed, and the tension eased without disappearing. After she left, I took my emergency tote from the guest room closet. I emptied the last of its contents onto the bed. 2 bandages, a phone charger that did not belong to me, breath mints, loose thread, a bent safety pin, and the plastic butter knife somebody had traded for my scissors. The bag itself was washable, but I did not wash it. I folded the gold lettering inward and placed it on the top shelf. The family winter dinner was usually held on the first Sunday in December. Tom had started calling it that because he disliked holiday obligations, but loved eating roast beef in cold weather. There were no gifts, no decorations beyond the pine branches I cut from the tree behind the garage, and no reason for it except that everyone knew to come. After Tom died, I kept hosting. Some years there were 14 people. Some years, 9. I cooked the roast, 2 vegetables, potatoes, rolls, and dessert. Paula brought wine. Denise brought something in a store container and transferred it to one of my bowls. Evan arrived early enough to open jars and late enough to miss peeling anything. I'd always said I loved it. That was true. It was also true that I usually ate my dinner lukewarm. Evan called on a Wednesday evening while I was reading on the couch. So, the winter dinner, he said after 4 minutes of weather and traffic. We should probably get that on the calendar. It's always the first Sunday. I know. I'm just making sure you're doing it. The phrasing caught me. Are you asking me to host? Yeah. Then ask. He sighed. Mom, will you please host the winter dinner? I'll host if we do it differently this year. The silence sharpened. What does differently mean? Everybody brings something. Not just wine. People help set up, serve, and clean. I'm not doing the whole meal, okay? And I'm sitting down when the food is hot. Obviously. It hasn't been obvious before. I said, okay. You sound angry? I'm not angry. I'm trying to understand why a family dinner needs terms and conditions. Because if I don't state them now, we'll arrive at the same place we always do. What place is that? Me in the kitchen while everybody else eats. That's not what happens. Last year, I sat down after Ronald had seconds. You were finishing the gravy and finding the mustard you wanted. I didn't ask you to find mustard. You stood in the doorway and said, "Do we have mustard?" That is not the same as asking you to leave the table. I closed my book. Everybody brings a dish, I said. Everybody helps. That's the dinner I'm willing to host. Marissa's voice came faintly through the phone. We can bring something. Evan answered her away from the receiver. I know. She said something else I couldn't hear. Then he came back. Marissa says we can bring a salad. Good. But do we have to make this into some kind of performance? People bring things already. Paula brings wine. Denise brings dessert. Denise brings cookies from the grocery store, and I arrange them on a plate because she says they look sad in plastic. So leave them in plastic. I will. Great. His irritation had moved into my chest. I could feel myself preparing to soften, offer to make most of it, say the changes were suggestions rather than conditions. Instead, I waited. He filled the silence. Everybody's been tense since the wedding, he said. This would be a chance to do something normal. There it was. Not dinner, restoration. He wanted my table, my roast, my pine branches, my ability to turn a room full of people avoiding one subject into a family. He wanted normal returned to him in serving dishes. Normal wasn't working for me, I said. Why does everything have to be about what's working for you now? The question was so revealing, he seemed to hear it himself. He lowered his voice. That came out wrong. I hope so. I mean, we all make compromises. What are you offering to do? I said we'd bring a salad. Marissa said that. We're married. It counts. Despite everything, I laughed. No, it doesn't. Fine. I'll make the salad. Have you ever made a salad? You put things in a bowl. According to your Aunt Denise, that's the final step. He laughed too, unwillingly. For a moment, I thought we had found our way through. Then he said, So we're good? We're good if everyone helps. Mom, that's my answer. He exhaled. You know what? Forget it. All right? I just thought one day could be easy. For whom? I'm not doing this. He hung up. I sat with the dead phone in my hand, listening to the refrigerator hum in the next room. The next morning, Marissa texted me privately. I'm happy to bring salad and help clean. I think Evan is reacting to change more than the actual request. I read that several times. Then I wrote, I think so too. She replied, He misses you. I stared at the words until the screen went dark. I wanted to ask why he could not say that himself. I wanted to ask whether missing me had changed anything. Instead, I put the phone down. That afternoon, Paula called. Evan says winter dinner is canceled. He told you that? He said you don't want to host. I said I would host if people shared the work. So he translated, fluently. Paula was quiet. I could do it here. Your dining room fits 6. 8 if Ronald agrees not to move his elbows. You don't have to rescue it. I like the dinner. So do I. Then come. The invitation caught me off guard. As a guest? I asked. As a guest who brings something, because apparently we have labor laws now. Very funny. I'm serious. I'll host. Everybody can bring a dish. We'll prove the family is capable of feeding itself. I looked toward my dining room. The long table sat empty beneath the window. Tom's old carving knife was in the second drawer of the sideboard. The pine tree behind the garage needed trimming anyway. Letting someone else host felt less like changing a tradition than surrendering it. Are you sure? I asked. Yes. All right. Paula sent a message to the family group chat that evening. Winter dinner at my place this year. First Sunday, 5 o'clock. Bring a dish and tell me what it is so we don't end up with 9 desserts. Denise responded first. Cookies? Paula wrote. Food, Denise. Ronald offered wine. Paula assigned him potatoes. Marissa volunteered salad. Evan did not reply for almost an hour. Then he wrote, We'll be there. A minute later, a separate message came directly to me. Hope you're happy. I typed, I'm not. This time, I sent it. He did not answer. I wished I had written something sharper. Then I wished I had written nothing. By bedtime, I had checked the message often enough to qualify as a medical condition. Paula assigned me rolls. Rolls? I said when she called. And butter. I could make the carrots. Ronald is making carrots. Ronald is making potatoes. He volunteered for carrots after Denise announced she was bringing cookies. She was told not to bring cookies. Denise experiences instruction as criticism. I can make both. You can bring rolls. What kind? The kind people eat. I considered sourdough, Parker House, and the soft-seeded ones from the bakery near Nina's house. How many? 12. There are 7 of us. Fine. 14. I don't care. I bought 16. That was restraint. On the afternoon of the dinner, I passed my own dining room carrying laundry upstairs. The table looked expectant. For years, by that hour, it would have been extended to its full length and covered with the white cloth Tom claimed made every meal feel like a treaty signing. The roast would have been in the oven. 2 pies would have been cooling on the counter because one pie created factions. I had nothing in my oven. The quiet I wanted had arrived, and I resented it for being so thorough. At 4:30, I placed the rolls in a basket lined with a clean napkin. Then I took them out and put them back in the paper bakery bag. A basket would need to be returned. A paper bag was what a guest brought. At Paula's, the front door stood open. I heard her swearing before I reached the porch. What happened? She hurried past me carrying a smoking dish towel. Nothing. Your towel is on fire. It was briefly too close to the burner. I took the towel, dropped it in the sink, and ran water over it. Paula pointed at the grocery bag in my other hand. Are those rolls? Yes. Just rolls. And butter. She smiled. I'm proud of you. Your kitchen is smoking. The oven is temperamental. Your oven is dirty. It's seasoned. The townhouse smelled like roast beef, scorched cotton, and the cinnamon candle she had lit to disguise both. Her dining table had been turned diagonally and extended into the living room. One end nearly touched the bookcase. She had gathered 7 chairs that looked as if they had met that afternoon. Where do you want the rolls? Table. Covered or uncovered? Lorraine. I put them on the table. Denise arrived carrying a round plastic container of cookies and a casserole dish covered in foil. I brought green beans, too, she announced before anyone could speak. Paula kissed her cheek. Growth. They have crispy onions. They're food. That's all I asked. Ronald came behind her with a slow cooker in both hands and a grocery bag hanging from his wrist. Potatoes, he said. And carrots? Paula asked. He looked at Denise. Denise looked at me. Everybody looked at me. I brought rolls, I said. There was a brief silence. I can run out, Ronald offered. No, Paula said firmly. We have enough. She turned toward the kitchen just as the oven timer began screaming. 3 people called my name. I stayed beside the rolls. Paula opened the oven and a cloud of smoke rolled out. It's fine. What did you put under the roast? I asked. A pan. In the pan. The roast. Anything else? She stared at me. Water, I said. Put some water in before the drippings burn. Paula reached for the roasting pan with bare hands. Use mitts. I know that. You weren't. I was reaching past it. For what? The mitts. The mitts are over there. This is why I don't host. Denise opened the window. Ronald carried a pitcher of water to the oven. Paula put on the mitts, and between the 3 of them, they managed to add water without dropping the roast. I gave advice. I did not take over. The distinction was uncomfortable for everybody. Evan and Marissa arrived at 5:12 with a wooden bowl of salad. Evan held the door while Marissa squeezed past the narrow entry table. We're late, she said. You're early by family standards, Paula told her. Evan handed me his coat automatically. I took it automatically. We both looked at it. Sorry, he said. He hung it in the closet himself. Marissa carried the salad into the kitchen and lifted the plastic wrap. It was beautiful. Greens, sliced pears, walnuts, crumbled cheese, and little red seeds scattered across the top. You made that? I asked Evan. He pointed to the red seeds. Pomegranate. I did those. There are 6 seeds. I also opened the walnuts. The bag? It was sealed. I smiled despite myself. Impressive. He almost smiled back. Dinner was ready 40 minutes late. The roast had rested too long, the potatoes had the consistency of wallpaper paste, and the green beans were mostly crispy onions held together by nostalgia. It was also the first winter dinner I had ever eaten, while everything was still warm. Paula sat at the head of the table. I was beside the bookcase on a dining chair slightly lower than everyone else's. Evan and Marissa sat across from me. Denise and Ronald were at the other end, with Paula's neighbor Evelyn wedged near the corner because Paula had invited her that afternoon. Having another woman named Evelyn caused Denise endless trouble. Lorraine, could you pass Evelyn? She began, then stopped. No. Evelyn, could you pass Lorraine the potatoes? Evelyn passed them to me. I've been answering to Lorraine for 20 minutes. I'm flexible. Halfway through the meal, Ronald looked around. Do we have mustard? Every face turned toward me. It was so exact, so immediate that I laughed, not a polite laugh. A loud, helpless one that made me put down my fork. Ronald looked startled. What? Nothing. Did I say something? Evan was watching me. Paula started laughing too. Check my refrigerator, Ronald. He glanced toward the kitchen, then back at his plate. I don't need it. You asked. I was just wondering. Evan pushed his chair back. I'll look. He went into the kitchen. I heard the refrigerator open, then a cabinet, then the refrigerator again. Where do you keep it? He called. Everyone looked at me a second time. This isn't my house, I said. Evelyn raised her wine glass. To Lorraine, who apparently knows the location of mustard everywhere. Evan returned with a jar. It was behind the milk. Thank God, Paula said. Winter dinner is saved. The meal loosened after that. Ronald admitted the potatoes were bad, which allowed everyone else to praise them without lying. Denise confessed that her green beans came from a recipe printed on the side of the onion container in 1989. Evelyn told a story about accidentally attending the wrong funeral and staying because she liked the music. Even Evan relaxed. For a while. When plates began to empty, Denise lifted hers and looked toward me. She caught herself before saying anything. I'll take this in, she said. She collected Ronald's too. Marissa gathered glasses. Paula started to stand, but Evan stopped her. You cooked. Sit down. I need to get dessert. Where is it? In the kitchen. I'm confident I can find a kitchen. You needed help finding mustard. I found it. Eventually. He carried the remaining plates away. I sat with both hands around my wine glass. This was what I had asked for. Other people moving. Other people noticing what needed to be done. Other people treating my body as if it had the same right to remain in a chair as theirs. It did not feel victorious. It felt exposed, like I had been wearing a heavy coat for years and removed it in a cold room. Evelyn leaned toward me. You all right? Yes. You look sad. I'm sitting differently. She considered that. That'll do it. Dessert was Denise's cookies and a store-bought apple pie Paula had hidden in the microwave. There was no whipped cream because no one had remembered it. Nobody died. After dessert, Paula announced, Everyone cleans. Ronald began stacking dishes. Denise found storage containers. Marissa wrapped leftovers. Evan stood at the sink with his sleeves rolled up, washing the roasting pan. I carried my glass to the kitchen. He looked over his shoulder. You can leave it. I'm finished. I said, I've got it. His tone was sharper than the words required. I placed the glass beside the sink. All right, go sit down. I was going to get my coat. Of course. I stopped. What does that mean? He scrubbed at the roasting pan. Nothing. It didn't sound like nothing. Water ran hard against metal. I just hope you enjoyed the demonstration. What demonstration? He turned off the faucet. Everybody cooking. Everybody carrying plates. Me washing dishes. You sitting there. I did enjoy sitting there. Good. Did you? I didn't mind helping. Then why are you angry? I'm not angry. You inherited your father's eyebrows. They confess before you do. That nearly got him. His mouth twitched, then flattened again. He set the sponge down. You know what was weird? Everybody kept looking at you. I noticed. They asked where things were. They asked what to do. Aunt Denise almost handed you her plate. I noticed that too. And you just sat there. I was eating. I know. His hands rested on either side of the sink. I waited. He looked toward the dining room, where Paula was forcing pie into containers, while Ronald argued that he did not need leftovers. I didn't know they all did that, Evan said. Neither did I. But you used to jump up before anybody asked. I know. So how were we supposed to know it bothered you? Maybe it didn't always bother me. He turned back. What does that mean? It means I liked taking care of people. I liked making dinner. I liked being the person who had tape and knew where the mustard was. Then what changed? I looked at him. Your wife told a waiter I didn't need a seat and you agreed. His face closed. So we are still talking about the wedding. We're talking about what it made impossible not to see. You keep saying, I agreed. I was trying to stop a fight in the middle of the reception. You stopped it by asking me to disappear quietly. I asked you to wait an hour. You asked me to accept what you had already decided. He picked up the sponge again, then dropped it. I miss you, he said. The words came out angry. I had wanted them so badly that, once spoken, I did not know what to do with them. I miss you too. Doesn't seem like it. What do you want me to do, Evan? I don't know. Be normal. Normal is how we got here. He looked down at the pan. From the dining room, Paula called, Who wants roast? Neither of us answered. I touched Evan's arm. He did not pull away, but he did not look at me either. I didn't want this, I said. Then what did you want? I wanted you to notice me before I had to stop. His jaw moved once. I left him at the sink and went for my coat. When I reached the front door, he came out of the kitchen drying his hands on a towel. Mom. I turned. He looked as if there were more words behind his teeth than he knew how to use. Drive safe, he said. It was not enough. It was also the first thing he had offered me all evening that required nothing in return. I will, I said. Halfway home, my phone lit up on the passenger seat. Let me know when you get there. I pulled into a gas station before answering because I had spent 37 years telling Evan not to text while driving and refused to be killed by hypocrisy. Home. His reply came immediately. Good. It was not an apology. It was barely a conversation. Still, I carried the small warmth of it into the house. The next afternoon, Paula brought me a container of roast and announced she would never host again. You did fine, I said. My smoke detector needs therapy. The roast was good. The roast was edible because you stood 6 feet away giving instructions like an air traffic controller. I didn't touch it. You touched the towel when it caught fire. That was mercy. She took off her coat and sat at the kitchen table. Did you talk to Evan after you left? No. He washed the roasting pan. I saw. He also dried it, which is where I began to suspect possession. I put on the kettle. Paula had watched us talking from the dining room, but she did not ask what we said. I appreciated that enough to make her tea properly instead of handing her a bag and hot water. He texted to see if I got home, I said. Her eyebrows rose. Don't. I didn't say anything. You made a face. My face is supportive. Your face is nosy. It can be two things. Evan called that Sunday while I was trimming dead stems from the lilac bush. I'm making a roast, he said. I straightened slowly. Are you calling the right person? I'm making a roast, he repeated. What temperature? The oven or the meat? The oven. What kind of roast? Beef. That narrows it to a cow. There was muffled conversation. Marissa said something in the background. Evan came back. It's the kind you make. I make 3 kinds. Round. Top round? Bottom round? Eye of round? Why does a cow have so many circles? What does the label say? The label is in the trash. Take it out. Mom. Your alternative is mysterious beef. He retrieved the label. It was top round. I gave him the temperature and told him to use a thermometer. Do you have one? I asked. Yes. Do you know where it is? A pause. Marissa knows. Then ask Marissa. The call lasted 7 minutes. He did not say he missed me. I did not offer to come over. 2 hours later, he sent a photograph of a gray slice of meat on a white plate. Well done, he wrote. I studied the photograph. It is certainly done, I replied. Marissa sent a separate message containing 6 laughing faces. The calls became less careful after that. Not frequent. Not long. But Evan began telling me small things again. A man in his office microwaved fish every Wednesday. The cedar-smelling aftershave had leaked in his gym bag. Marissa wanted to paint the guest room and had selected 4 shades of beige with different names. Fog linen, he told me. What does that even mean? It means beige costs more if you give it weather. He laughed. I stopped treating every request as evidence. When he asked for the name of the bakery where I bought the winter dinner rolls, I told him. When he asked if I would pick them up for him, I told him no. He went himself. The world continued. Paula arrived one morning with a folded brochure and put it over my cereal bowl. 2 nights at Lake Avery. In February? The lake will be there, so will ice. There's an inn, shops, a museum, and a restaurant where they set desserts on fire. I can set dessert on fire at home. You don't do anything fun at home. I moved the brochure. I'm eating. You've been saying we should go somewhere for years. We have gone places. We went to Bellwood for that flea market, art fair. You bought nothing. It was basically a flea market with scarves. The inn in the photograph had white porches, green shutters, and rooms named after birds. We had talked about going the spring after Tom died, then the following fall, then sometime after Paula's divorce was final. Every season had arrived carrying a reason we should wait. What weekend? I asked. March 7th. I reached automatically for the calendar hanging beside the refrigerator. The square was empty. I don't think I have anything. Paula took the calendar off the wall and examined it. You wrote, change furnace filter. That's important. You can change it before we go. It won't be due. Then change it when we get back. You don't understand filters. I understand postponement. She put the calendar down. I booked the room, she said. 2 beds. Free cancellation until Friday. You booked it before asking me? I know you. You know my credit card number too? I used mine. You can pay me back if you come. And if I don't, I'll ask Nina. She knows how to travel. How do you know? She owns luggage that matches. I looked at the brochure again. All right. Paula became suspicious. All right, what? I'll go. Say it in a complete sentence. I will go to Lake Avery and watch you set fire to dessert. She smiled. Too late to change your mind. Free cancellation ended yesterday. I threw a cereal flake at her. Evan called the night before we left. Do you want to come for dinner Sunday? He asked. There was no errand attached. I checked. What are you having? Not roast. Good decision. We thought we'd order from that Thai place. I folded a sweater and set it in my suitcase. I'll be at Lake Avery. Lake Avery? With Paula. When did you plan that? A few weeks ago. You never go anywhere. I do now. He was quiet long enough for me to regret the way I said it. Okay, he replied. We'll be back Monday. I can ask Denise. For dinner? Yeah. The idea of being replaced so casually irritated me, which was absurd and unfair. You should. Have fun. I'll try. Send pictures. I will. Paula drove because she distrusted my habit of slowing down to read historical markers. The sky was pale and flat, with snow banked gray along the shoulders of the highway. She brought a bag of hard candy and a playlist containing every song Tom had ever complained about. This is hostile, I said, when a saxophone began wailing through the speakers. It keeps me alert. It's keeping animals away from the road. Our room at the inn was called the Heron. It had 2 iron beds, floral wallpaper, and a radiator that knocked every 11 minutes like someone trapped inside wanted room service. Paula unpacked fully for a 2-night stay. I lived out of my suitcase. We walked through shops selling handmade soap, wooden birds, knitted hats, and decorative signs telling women to drink wine. Paula bought a ceramic bowl shaped like a cabbage. I bought a postcard for Evan, then felt ridiculous and bought one for Nina, too. At dinner, the waiter poured liquor over a square of chocolate cake and lit it. Paula leaned away. That's more fire than I expected. You hosted winter dinner. You're trained. The flame burned blue, then disappeared. The cake tasted mostly of smoke. We ate every bite. The second morning, snow fell over the lake. It softened the docks and erased the opposite shore. Paula and I sat on the inn's enclosed porch with coffee, each of us pretending not to be cold. You've checked your phone 4 times, she said. I'm checking the weather. We are looking at the weather. I like official confirmation. Did Evan call? No. Were you expecting him to? No. Paula waited. Maybe. She wrapped both hands around her mug. You know you're allowed to call him. I know. You don't lose the boundary if you call first. I know. And you don't have to prove you have a wonderful new life every minute. I looked through the glass at the blank white lake. I don't have a wonderful new life. You have a postcard. I bought it for him out of guilt. You bought it because it had a cow wearing a scarf. That too. She smiled. I turned the mug slowly against the table. When I stopped doing things for everybody, I thought they would finally see how much I did. They did. I also saw how much of my day depended on being asked. Paula nodded. I don't know which is worse, I said. That they used me or that I made it so easy because I was afraid they wouldn't come otherwise. That sounds like a question for a professional. Are you calling me crazy? I'm saying I charge by the pastry. I laughed. She reached across the small table. Build something else, Lorraine. Not to teach Evan a lesson. Not to prove you don't need him. Just something that belongs to you. The postcard was in my purse. I mailed it from the inn lobby before we left. It said, "The cow made me think of your roast." Evan called while Paula was loading our bags into her car. That was fast, I said. What was fast? Nothing. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Are you sure? Yes. He sounded amused. I called to ask how the trip is. I leaned against the car. It's cold. Paula bought a cabbage bowl. We ate cake that was deliberately set on fire. Sounds dangerous. We survived. Did you take pictures? A few. Send them. I will. Paula walked past me carrying a suitcase and mouthed, "Who is it?" I mouthed, "Weather Service." She rolled her eyes. When we returned, the lilac bush had tiny green points along its branches. Nina invited me to a trivia night. Susan asked if I wanted to join them for a gallery opening. I said yes to both before checking whether Evan might call. He still did. Sometimes I called first. We avoided the wedding with such discipline that the silence around it began to look less like healing and more like furniture. We could move around it. We could talk across it. Neither of us tried to lift it. One rainy evening, I was heating chicken soup when the phone rang. "Hey, Mom," Evan said. "Hey, are you busy tomorrow?" The old question tightened something in me. "What do you need?" He was quiet, then he said, "Nothing." "Nothing?" "I don't need a ride. I don't have a package. I'm not cooking beef." I turned off the burner. I was wondering if I could come over. "What for?" "To see you." I looked at the single bowl waiting on the counter. "All right," I said, "come over." The next afternoon, I cleaned the kitchen as if the health department were coming. I wiped counters that were already clean, rearranged the mail, and removed one dead leaf from a plant on the windowsill. At 4, I considered making dinner. At 4:15, I took chicken from the freezer. At 4:20, I put it back. He was coming to see me. I wanted to know what that looked like without a meal built around it. At 5:30, I heated the rest of the chicken soup. I had just carried my bowl to the table when the front door opened. Evan still had the spare key he'd carried since he was 19. He knocked anyway before stepping inside. "Mom?" "Kitchen." He appeared in the doorway wearing his work clothes, tie loosened, rain darkening the shoulders of his coat. He held a paper bag from the bakery. "I brought rolls." I looked at the bag. "Not as payment," he said. "I didn't know if you'd eaten." "I'm eating." "I can see that. Do you want soup? Is there enough?" I had made 4 servings. There was always enough. Yes. He hung his coat on the back of a chair. I poured soup into a second bowl and put it across from mine. The rolls were warm, and when he opened the bag, steam loosened into the room. He glanced at the table. I had finally removed the second placemat. For months I'd kept it turned face down, which made no sense. A placemat was not a photograph. Tom did not require it. "You changed this," Evan said. "The placemat?" "Yeah." I put it away. He nodded as if I had told him something significant. We ate. The soup needed salt, but I did not get up for it. Evan tore a roll in half and dipped one piece into his bowl. "How was work?" I asked. "Fine." "Still having fish Wednesdays?" They sent an email. About fish, about respecting shared spaces. Greg claims he was targeted. He was. He knows. We smiled. Then the room went quiet again. I had missed him most in silence. Not the phone calls or errands. The way we used to be able to sit without each empty second becoming an accusation. He finished half his soup and put down his spoon. I wanted to talk about the wedding. My appetite disappeared. All right, I don't know exactly how to say this. Usually the truth works. He looked at me then, and I heard my own sharpness. Sorry, I said, go ahead. He rubbed his thumb over a crease in the paper napkin. I knew there was a problem with the seating. The refrigerator clicked off. How much did you know? I knew your place at the family table had been given to someone else. I set my spoon down carefully. When? 2 days before. Not that morning. Not during the reception. 2 days. Who was sitting there? Camille and Drew, Marissa's aunt and her partner. He nodded. There was an issue with their response card. Her mother thought they weren't coming. Camille said she told Denise months ago that they were. Denise? I don't know. It became a whole thing. By the time anyone figured it out, the numbers were final. There were 2 of them. They moved some people between tables and removed one person, Mom. Was it one person? There were a few changes. Did anybody else attend without a seat? No. The answer was quiet. I looked at the soup. A thin circle of fat had begun forming around the edge of the bowl. What did you think I was going to do? Marissa said you'd already be moving around helping. And what did you say? He folded the napkin smaller. I said you'd probably be okay with it. Probably? I thought another seat would open up. Someone always cancels or leaves early. What if no one did? We were going to figure it out. You keep saying we. I mean all of us. No, you don't. You mean me. I was going to figure it out because that is what I do. He looked toward the window. Rain threaded down the glass in crooked lines. I'm sorry, he said. The words were the right ones. I had waited months for them. They landed badly. You knew? Yes. When you called me about the cufflinks, you knew. He closed his eyes briefly. Yes. When you told me I looked beautiful, you knew I wasn't going to have a place at dinner. That had nothing to do with it. You squeezed my hand before the ceremony, because you're my mother. Did you feel guilty? No. I mean, yes, but that wasn't why He stopped. I was getting married. Dad wasn't there. I wanted you close. Until dinner. That's not fair. I pushed my chair back. Don't tell me what's fair. I came here to tell you the truth. And now I'm supposed to reward you for it? No. You watched me look for my place card. I didn't know where the card was. You knew where the chair wasn't. His face tightened. I thought Marissa had arranged something. She arranged for me to work. I didn't know she was going to say that to the waiter. You knew that was the plan. I knew you were going to help for a while everybody else ate. He stood, not angrily at first. More like sitting had become impossible. I handled it badly. You didn't handle it at all. I was trying to keep the day from falling apart. It was a chair, Evan, not a bomb. You didn't see what the week was like. I was there for the week. I picked up your suit. I stored half the decorations. I answered 47 messages about flowers and favors and whether your father's cufflinks were silver or platinum. I know what you did. Do you? Yes. He raised his voice on the word. I stood too. Then why me? His mouth opened. Out of every person in that room, why was I the easiest one to remove? It wasn't like that. Then tell me what it was like. He pressed both hands to the back of his chair. Marissa was overwhelmed. Her mother was crying. Camille was threatening not to come. People were arguing over where Drew would sit. The hotel said they couldn't add another place at that table because of the aisle. And you chose me. I made a decision. You made a decision about me without me. I knew you would adapt. There it was. The word was prettier than surrender. It meant the same thing. You knew I would forgive you, I said. I hoped you would. No, that's not what I mean. You weren't afraid to disappoint me. He stared at the table. You were afraid Marissa would be upset on her wedding day. You were afraid her mother would cry. You were afraid Camille would make a scene. But you weren't afraid of hurting me. You were the safest person, he said. The honesty of it cut deeper than any excuse. Safe. I don't mean unimportant. What do you mean? I thought you'd still love me." For 1 second, I saw him at 8, standing in the driveway after denting Tom's car with a baseball, more frightened by his father's anger than mine. I had held him while Tom paced around the bumper. I had told him accidents did not change love. He had believed me. I sat down again because my legs felt weak. Evan remained standing. "I knew Marissa was under pressure," he said. "I knew the table was full. And I knew if I asked you to be flexible, you would be. You always were. You didn't ask. I know. You let her announce it to a stranger. I know." I covered my mouth with one hand. He stepped around the chair. "Mom, don't." He stopped. I wanted to tell him to leave. I wanted to hold him. Both desires felt equally violent. "I'm sorry," he said. "I am. I should have told Marissa no. I should have given you my chair. I should have done 100 things differently, but you didn't. No, because I was safe. Because I was a coward." I looked at him. That was not the word I expected. He sat again, this time in the chair beside mine rather than across the table. "I didn't know how to disappoint her and still get through the day," he said. "Disappointing you felt survivable. For you." "Yes." The anger inside me shifted, not softer but less simple. He reached toward my hand. I moved it into my lap before he touched me. His face changed. "Did Marissa ask you to tell me this?" "No." "Does she know you came?" "Yes. What does she think?" "She thinks it will make things worse." She was right. His jaw tightened again. "So what was I supposed to do? Keep lying?" "No. I've spent months trying to get us back to normal. You kept saying normal was the problem. I'm telling you what actually happened, and that's wrong too. I didn't say it was wrong. You're acting like I came here to hurt you. You came here to relieve yourself." His chair scraped as he stood. "That's not fair. Maybe I don't care about fair right now. Clearly." He picked up his coat. The old reflex rose in me. Stop him, soften it, make sure he did not leave angry. I let him reach the doorway. Then another truth rose behind it. "You think I made you this way," I said. He stopped. I hadn't known I was going to say it. "You think because I always helped, because I fixed things before you asked, I taught you not to see me." He turned slowly. "I didn't say that. Not yet. I came here to take responsibility, then take it without explaining how reliable I was." His expression hardened. "You want honesty? Sometimes you didn't wait to be asked. You just did things, and then later they became proof that nobody appreciated you. The words found places in me I had kept guarded. So the wedding was payback? No." "God, Mom. That isn't what I'm saying. Then why say it now? Because you're acting like I woke up at 35 and decided my mother was staff. You made being needed the only way anybody could get close to you." I stood again. "Get out." He went pale. "Mom, I mean it. I shouldn't have said that. No, you wanted honesty. So do I." He put on his coat but did not button it. "I'm sorry, I heard you." "Then what happens now?" "I don't know. Do I get punished another 6 months?" I walked to the front door and opened it. Rain tapped against the porch roof. Evan stood beside me, his face painfully familiar. "I came because I missed you. You came because you were carrying a secret. Both can be true." "Yes," I said. "They can." He stepped onto the porch. Before I closed the door, he turned back. "I didn't think you didn't need a seat," he said. "I thought you'd find one because you always found everything. That may be worse." "I know." He walked to his car. On the kitchen table, his soup was unfinished. The bakery bag was open between our bowls, and one of the rolls had been torn neatly in half. I sat in his chair. The worst part was that he had been cruel and honest at the same time. So had I. I put both bowls in the refrigerator without covering them. The torn roll stayed on the table. By midnight, it had gone hard along the edges. I threw it away, then took it out of the trash and put it in the bread box because grief makes fools of ordinary objects. The next morning, Paula called while I was standing in the kitchen looking at it. "How did it go? How did what go? Evan coming over. How do you know he came over? He asked me whether you still liked chicken soup." I sat down. He knew. Paula was quiet. Knew what about the chair? 2 days before the wedding. The silence changed shape. He admitted that? Yes. What exactly did he say? I told her. Not every word. I left out the part about being his safest person to disappoint because I could not say it aloud yet. I told her about Camille and Drew, the response card problem, the hotel aisle, and his belief that a seat would eventually appear. Paula listened without interrupting until I reached the argument. You told him to get out? He told me I made being needed the only way people could get close to me. Oh. I looked at the phone. Oh? I'm choosing my next sentence carefully. Choose a different one. Lorraine. He knew for 2 days. That was wrong. He let me walk into that ballroom looking for my own name. I know. He watched me do it. I know. And then, in my kitchen, he decided to explain my personality to me. His timing was criminal. His timing was intentional. Probably not. Evan has Tom's sense of timing. Tom had good timing. Tom proposed to you in a laundromat. The dryer was broken. We were there a long time. Paula sighed. I'm not defending what Evan did. You keep saying that. Because you keep making me sound like I'm defending him. Are you? No. But that thing he said at the end? I waited. There may be a piece of truth in it. I stood so quickly the chair legs scraped the floor. I have to go. Go where? I don't know. Somewhere people aren't telling me my son humiliated me because I'm too helpful. That is not what I said. It's close. No, it isn't. He humiliated you because he made a selfish choice and assumed you would absorb it. That belongs to him. You doing things nobody asked for belongs to you. I hated how neatly she separated them. I don't know what you want me to say. Nothing. I want you to be mad. I just don't want you to be so mad that every true thing sounds like an attack. The lilac bush moved outside the window. Its new leaves were opening despite the cold rain. I have to go, I said again. This time, Paula let me. Nina knocked at noon and asked whether I was still coming to trivia. I don't know anything useful, I told her. That has never stopped a trivia team. I'm not in the mood. Good. Susan is always in the mood, and it's exhausting. She looked past me toward the kitchen. Have you eaten? Yes. Was it something that requires chewing? Soup. That's a no. I'm fine, Nina. She studied my face. Unlike Paula, she did not know enough to argue accurately. 7 o'clock, she said. If you don't show up, we'll name the team after you and lose publicly. I went. Our team was called the Orthopedic Sandals. We came in 5th out of 9 teams, mostly because Nina knew the capitals of 5 countries nobody else had heard of. I knew the name of the actress in an old movie and the chemical symbol for silver. Susan knew every answer involving cheese. For 2 hours, no one asked me who had been right in my kitchen. When I came home, the hard half roll was still in the bread box. I threw it away for good. Paula's sentence remained. Doing things nobody asked for belongs to you. It would have been easy to dismiss if I couldn't remember examples. After Evan moved into his first apartment at 24, I visited while he was at work and reorganized his kitchen. I put spices in matching jars and lined up his canned food with labels facing forward. He came home and asked where his coffee mugs were. In the cabinet beside the sink, I told him. They were above the coffee maker. This makes more sense. To you. I had laughed. When he bought his first house, I arranged for the locks to be changed because he kept putting it off. He thanked me, but months later, during an argument about something unrelated, he said, "Sometimes I'd like to finish my own thought before you solve it." I told him he was lucky to have somebody who cared. After Tom died, caring had become constant motion. Evan was 24 then, old enough to grieve privately, which terrified me. If I brought groceries, he had to open the door. If I asked him to fix a loose hinge, he had to come over. If he needed me, neither of us had to say we were lonely. Eventually, he stopped objecting. Eventually, I mistook that for gratitude. None of those memories moved the chair back into the ballroom. They did not excuse his decision, but they made the story less comfortable, and discomfort is harder to throw away than a stale roll. Marissa called Sunday afternoon. "Is this a bad time?" she asked. "I don't know yet." "That's fair." Her voice sounded different without Evan nearby, less bright, less rehearsed. "Can I come over?" "What for?" "To talk." "Evan already talked." "I know," he told me. "I'm not sure I want another version. I'm not bringing another version." Rain had begun again, fine and steady against the windows. "Are you coming alone?" "Yes." "All right." She arrived 40 minutes later wearing a gray sweater, black pants, and no makeup except mascara. Her hair was tied at the back of her neck. She stood on the porch empty-handed. "I almost brought flowers," she said when I opened the door. "Why didn't you?" "I thought they might look like an assignment." "A peace offering isn't an assignment." I couldn't pick anything that didn't feel like I wanted credit for bringing it. That answer let her into the house. We sat in the living room. Marissa chose the edge of the couch instead of Evan's usual chair. Her hands stayed folded tightly in her lap. "Do you want coffee?" I asked. "No, thank you." "Tea?" "No." I sat across from her. For several seconds, she looked at the carpet. "I took your place off the table," she said. I had thought Evan's confession had prepared me. It had not. "Physically?" I removed the card from the setting. I gave it to the coordinator and asked her to move it once she found somewhere else. I don't know how it ended up under the table. The waiter found it. "I know." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew you'd say no." The directness shocked me more than another excuse would have. Marissa swallowed. Camille had called my mother crying. Drew said they wouldn't come if they had to sit apart. My mother blamed Denise. Denise said she never got the message. The hotel wouldn't add another chair in that aisle. Everybody was calling me like I was the only person who could move a chair. "So you moved mine?" "Yes." "Why?" She looked at me. "Because you were already helping." That isn't an answer. I thought it was then. Her fingers tightened together. In my family, the women who belong are the women working. My grandmother ate standing at the counter every holiday. My mother doesn't sit until everybody else has food. Denise walks around refilling drinks she didn't pour. Nobody calls it serving. They call it taking care of family. That doesn't explain why they had chairs. No. The word was quiet. "I thought you were like them," she continued. "You always had everything. You knew what people needed before they did. You seemed happier fixing the flowers than sitting with people you barely knew. I knew half the room. I know. And I wanted to watch my son's reception." "I know. Do you?" "Yes." Her eyes filled, but she blinked hard and did not let the tears fall. "At the time," she said, "I thought saying you'd be helping meant you were important, essential, like the day couldn't work without you. But the day did work without me. Not the way we wanted. It worked well enough." She looked down again. "I also thought you'd forgive us." There it was a second time. I leaned back in the chair. You and Evan both counted on that before either of you was sorry. "Yes." "You weren't confused." "No." "The seating didn't get messed up." "No." "You chose." "Yes." Her honesty was brutal, but at least it did not ask me to argue with reality. "Why are you here?" I asked. "To apologize. You already texted." "That wasn't an apology." "No." She breathed in slowly. "I'm sorry I removed your place. I'm sorry I treated your presence like it was flexible because your labor was useful. I'm sorry I said what I said to the waiter. And I'm sorry I stood there afterward acting like your reaction was the embarrassing part." The room seemed very still. I wanted to accept it. I wanted to make her feel better because she looked frightened and tired, and making people comfortable was the skill I trusted most. "I can't tell you it's okay," I said. "I know. I don't want your apology to become another request for me to make everybody comfortable. It isn't. You say that now. I'm not asking you to forgive me today. Then what are you asking?" "Nothing." That answer left us with nowhere to hide. Marissa stood. Evan is angry with me for telling him your chair would be fine, she said. I'm angry with him for agreeing. We've spent months taking turns deciding which one of us did the worst thing. That sounds exhausting. It is. Maybe stop. Her mouth moved in something too sad to be a smile. We're trying. I walked her to the door. Before stepping outside, she turned. He was wrong about something. Which thing? You didn't make being needed the only way he could get close to you. He used it because it was easier than saying he wanted to. I looked at her. That doesn't mean you never overdid things. She added quickly, You did. Despite myself, I laughed. She did too once. Then the seriousness returned. I'm sorry, Lorraine. I heard you. She nodded. She did not ask whether we were all right. She did not ask me to call Evan. She did not hug me on the porch. She simply left. I watched her car disappear through the rain, then returned to the living room. The couch cushion still held the shallow impression of where she had sat. Her apology had not fixed anything. For the first time, I believed it wasn't supposed to. I did not call Evan that night. I wrote 3 versions of a message, deleted them, and went to bed. In the morning, I sent the shortest one. Marissa came over. We talked. I'm glad she came. He answered an hour later. She was nervous. She hid it well. No, she didn't. I smiled at the phone. Then I wrote, What you said about me doing things before people ask was badly timed. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. I know. I'm sorry. I continued. It was also not entirely wrong. He called immediately. Are you okay? I'm fine. You just admitted I was right about something. I thought you might have a fever. You were not right. You contained a fragment of accuracy. I'll take it. I sat at the kitchen table. Morning light fell across the single placemat. I shouldn't have told you to get out. You were upset. I was. I'm still allowed to choose how I behave. He did not say anything. I could hear an office door close on his end. I did things for you that you didn't ask me to do, I continued. Sometimes I did them because I cared. Sometimes I did them because I wanted you to need me. Mom, I'm not confessing to a crime, I know, and that doesn't excuse the wedding. I know. I need you to say more than that. He breathed out slowly. What I did at the wedding was wrong. It wasn't wrong because you were helpful. It wasn't wrong because Marissa was stressed. It was wrong because I knew you were being removed and counted on you accepting it. I closed my eyes. Yes. I'm sorry. I know. No, don't use my word. Despite myself, I laughed. The sound loosened both of us. I'm sorry too, I said. For what? For making help feel like the price of being close to me. For solving things you hadn't decided were problems. For keeping score when I told myself I wasn't. You did keep score. I'm in the middle of an apology. Sorry. You should be. We laughed again, but the laughter did not erase the hard parts. It simply gave us somewhere to stand while looking at them. I don't know what we're supposed to do now, he said. Neither do I. Do we make rules? I'm tired of rules. Good. I wasn't going to read them. We pay attention. To what? To whether you're calling because you want me or because you want something done. What if it's both? Then be honest. And you? I'll pay attention to whether I'm helping because I want to or because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't. What happens if you don't? I might find out people can live without me. His answer came quickly. We can. That hurt. Then he added, I don't want to. I put my hand over my eyes. You could have led with that. I'm learning timing. Slowly. We agreed to have coffee the following Saturday. Not at my house, where I might cook, or his, where a box might appear. We met at the diner where Paula and I had gone after the movie. Evan arrived before me. He'd already ordered my coffee, cream on the side, and was sitting in a booth beneath a framed photograph of a local baseball team from 1978. You remembered, I said. I have retained some information without assistance. Remarkable. He stood to kiss my cheek. We talked for an hour. Nothing dramatic happened. That was what made it feel different. He told me Marissa had been sleeping badly. I told him that was something he should know how to handle without assigning me a job. He agreed. I told him Nina wanted me to join a regular trivia team. He asked whether the orthopedic sandals had won anything. Respect. So, no. We beat 4 teams. How many teams were there? Numbers aren't important. He ate eggs. I ate toast. We split a piece of coffee cake without debating who had suggested it. In the parking lot, I took his spare house key from my ring. I want to give you this. He stared at it in my palm. Why? I don't need it. You water the plants when we travel. You can ask me when you travel. What if there's an emergency? Then call me. What if you need to get in? Why would I need to get into your house without asking? He shoved his hands into his coat pockets. This feels like another statement. It is. About what? About not treating convenience like emergency access. I never said it was emergency access. You said it was for emergencies. Most of the emergencies turned out to be deliveries. He did not take the key. Are you giving it back because you don't want to help us anymore? No, I'm giving it back because I want us to ask each other. That sounds like a rule. Maybe one rule. He finally held out his hand. I placed the key in it. The metal left a small, cold mark against my skin. Evan looked down at it. You still have a key to Aunt Paula's. Paula once locked herself out in a bathrobe. That qualifies as an emergency. I don't want details. You shouldn't. He put the key in his pocket. Then he hugged me. It was not a wedding day hand squeeze or a quick cheek kiss on the way to another task. He wrapped both arms around me in the diner parking lot and stayed there long enough that I stopped wondering what it meant. When the lilacs bloomed, Evan called and asked if he could help trim the bush. You hate yard work, I said. I hate my yard work. What makes mine better? Dad planted that bush. So I want to help. He arrived with pruning shears that still had a price sticker on them. You bought these today, I said. I owned no shears. You bought the expensive ones. They were in the middle. They were on the display at eye level. That's how they get you. Can we trim the bush? We worked for most of the afternoon. Evan cut branches too cautiously at first, then became aggressive and removed an entire section I had specifically told him to leave. That was the good side, I said. It was sticking out. It was supposed to. Bushes shouldn't have opinions. This one knew your father. Tom had planted it the spring after we moved into the house. He dug the hole too close to the fence and insisted lilacs were narrow plants. For 30 years, I had been correcting his optimism with pruning shears. Evan held up a branch heavy with purple flowers. Mom? What? Was Dad happy? The question came from nowhere. With the bush? With everything. I lowered my shears. He was happy with a lot of things. That's not what I asked. No one is happy with everything. He used to get quiet. Yes. Like he wanted to be somewhere else. Sometimes he did. Evan looked toward the house. Did you know? Usually. What did you do? Asked him. And? Sometimes he told me. Sometimes he fixed something in the garage for 6 hours. Evan smiled faintly. Your father loved us, I said. That wasn't always the same as knowing how to be with us. He turned the branch in his hands. Was I like that at the wedding? You loved me. But I didn't know how to be your son, not in that moment. He nodded. I expected him to apologize again. He didn't. Instead, he carried the branch to the pile and came back for another. That restraint felt like progress. The first time I went to their house after returning the key, I rang the bell. Marissa opened the door and looked briefly surprised. I gave the key back, I explained. I know. Evan showed me. Did he make a speech? He put it in the junk drawer and said, apparently we live like adults now. That sounds right. They had invited me for takeout. There were no dishes waiting in the sink and no boxes in the hall. The wedding returns box was gone. Marissa noticed me noticing. We finished it, she said. Good. It took 3 evenings. I'm sure. We returned one blender to the wrong store and had to buy it back. How do you buy back a blender you already own? It's a long story. I have time. We ate noodles from paper cartons at their table. Afterward, Evan gathered the trash. Marissa wiped the table. I offered to help because I wanted to. "You can put the leftovers in the refrigerator," she said. The request did not offend me. That was progress, too. Summer came with dinners that were less symbolic. Sometimes Evan came to my house and brought food. Sometimes I cooked. Once I made tomato sauce and did not make enough for 8 people. We finished the pot. Paula and I took another short trip, this time to a town with no lake and several antique stores. Nina's trivia team moved from 5th place to 3rd. Susan continued to know an alarming amount about cheese. I hosted a supper on the patio. Everyone brought something. Denise's cookies remained in their plastic container, and nobody complained. I sat down before Ronald asked for mustard. When he did, he found it himself. Nothing transformed all at once. Evan still asked for favors. I sometimes said yes too quickly. Once he called from the airport and asked me to pick up a package at their house, then remembered I no longer had a key. "I can leave it," I said. "No, it's not important." The package survived on the porch for 2 days. Once I arrived at their house with groceries they had not requested because Marissa mentioned being busy. I carried them as far as the driveway, stopped, and took them home again. I ate a great deal of yogurt that week. In late August, Marissa called. "Our anniversary is coming up," she said. "I'm aware. We're having a small dinner." I waited. "Very small," she continued. "You, Paula, my parents, Denise. That's it. At your house?" "Yes. What are you asking me to bring?" "Nothing." "What are you asking me to do?" "Eat." I looked out at the lilac bush. The side Evan had cut too deeply was already filling in. "I'm not sure," I said. "I understand. I want to come." "But—" The reception returned in pieces. The waiter's careful face, the chair in his hand, my place card lying on its seat, Evan's silver cufflink flashing when he told me to wait. "I don't know how I'll feel. You don't have to protect us from that." Her answer was immediate. "If you come and want to leave, you can leave," she said. "If you don't come, we won't tell anyone you're sick." I laughed. "So you've thought this through?" "A lot." "Is Evan there?" He's pretending not to listen from the kitchen. In the background, he said, "I'm not pretending." Marissa lowered her voice. "He wants you here." Evan called. "I can hear you." "I know," she replied. I imagined their kitchen. Evan leaning against the counter, Marissa holding the phone. 2 adults trying to make an invitation without turning it into an obligation. "What time?" I asked. 6. I'll come. On the afternoon of the dinner, I opened the guest room closet and saw the green dress. It still had dirt along the hem from the reception parking lot. I had left it that way for nearly a year, as if cleaning it would mean agreeing the day was over. The navy emergency tote sat folded on the shelf above it, gold lettering hidden inside. I took down the dress. For a moment, I considered wearing it. Then I carried it to the laundry room, placed it in a bag for the dry cleaner, and chose something new. I wore a soft blue dress and low shoes. The shoes mattered. They were the kind I could stand in all evening, which nearly made me change them. Then I decided shoes were not consent, and kept them on. At 5:45, I walked through the grocery store carrying a bottle of wine I had not been asked to buy. Marissa had said to bring nothing. The invitation contained no hidden blank for me to fill. I returned the wine to the shelf. At 5:58, I rang their doorbell. Evan opened it wearing an oven mitt shaped like a lobster. "You're on time," he said. "So are you." "For what?" Opening the door. "That's because we live like adults now." He leaned in and kissed my cheek. The house smelled like garlic, rosemary, and something darker. "Is anything burning?" "No." From the kitchen, Marissa called. "Yes." Evan turned his head. "It's not burning, it's browning, it's smoking. Smoke happens." "Not always." He took my coat. "Come in before she undermines my authority." "What authority?" "Exactly." The dining table was set for 7. No place cards, no dramatic centerpiece, no chair decorated to prove a point. There were 7 plates, 7 glasses, and 7 folded napkins. I could not tell which place was mine. Relief came quietly. Marissa stepped out of the kitchen carrying a wooden spoon. She wore dark green pants and a cream blouse with one cuff rolled higher than the other. There was a dot of sauce on her collar. "You look beautiful," she said. "Thank you, I mean it." "I know." Her eyes moved over my shoulder. "You didn't bring anything. You told me not to." "I did." "She did," Evan said. "I heard her practice." Marissa shot him a look. I wanted the invitation to be clear. "It was clear," I said. She nodded once. The oven timer began beeping. Evan lifted his lobster hand. "That's me." We followed him into the kitchen. 2 pork tenderloins rested in a roasting pan. One was deeply brown. The other had crossed into a color usually associated with furniture. "Which one is smoking?" he asked. "The wooden one," I said. "It's not wooden. Then why does it have grain?" Marissa laughed into her hand. Evan pointed the lobster mitt at us. "Neither of you gets to criticize until you taste it." "I wasn't criticizing," I said. "I was identifying." A saucepan bubbled on the stove. The counter held a bowl of mashed potatoes, green beans, a basket of rolls, and 3 printed recipe pages marked with fingerprints. I felt the old impulse rise. The potatoes needed covering. The rolls were too close to the sink. The sauce was boiling too hard. One cutting board rested partly over the edge of the counter. I could fix all 4 things in less than a minute. Instead, I asked, "Where would you like me?" Evan looked around the kitchen. "In the living room?" His answer was uncertain, as if he expected me to object. "All right." Marissa touched my arm before I turned. "Would you like some wine?" "Yes." She poured it herself. I sat on the couch with my glass. The first few seconds were almost unbearable. Pots clanged behind me. A cabinet opened, closed, then opened again. "Where's the long knife?" Evan called. "Second drawer," Marissa answered. "It's not there." "Yes, it is. There are only short knives. Under the short knives. That's a terrible system." I smiled into my wine. Paula arrived carrying the ceramic cabbage bowl she had bought at Lake Avery. "I know they said not to bring anything," she announced, "so this is empty." She held up the bowl. "Why did you bring it?" I asked. "It wanted an outing." "You brought luggage for a bowl? It traveled better than you did." Evan took it from her. "What am I supposed to do with this?" "Admire it." He placed it in the center of the dining table, where it became the evening's centerpiece. Marissa's parents arrived next. Ronald brought wine despite instructions. His wife, Carol, carried a small gift bag for Evan and Marissa and apologized 3 times for the tissue paper being wrinkled. I had met Carol many times, but we had not been alone together since the wedding. She hugged me carefully. "You look well," she said. "So do you." Her eyes held mine a second too long. "I'm glad you came." "Thank you." "I mean it. That seems to be the phrase tonight." She gave a nervous laugh. Denise arrived last with grocery store cookies in their original plastic container. "Nobody said I couldn't bring cookies," she declared. "Everybody said that," Paula replied. "They're for later. We have cake. Then they're for tomorrow." She put them on the counter and kissed Marissa, Carol, and me in that order. For the first half hour, everyone behaved as if we were seated on thin ice. Conversation remained on safe ground. Traffic, weather, Paula's cabbage bowl, the increasing cost of coffee. Ronald described a disagreement with his garbage collector in such detail that I began to admire the garbage collector's courage. Then a sharp smell came from the kitchen. Evan hurried in. The rest of us looked at one another. Nobody moved. A smoke alarm gave one short warning chirp. "Everything's fine," Evan called. Paula looked at me. I drank my wine. Another chirp. Marissa stood. "I'm going in." "I've got it," Evan said. "You said that during the first smoke." Carol started to rise. Marissa pointed at her. "Stay." Carol sat. Denise looked at me. I looked back. "What?" she whispered. "Nothing. You know what they should do. I usually do." We listened to Evan and Marissa argue quietly over the sauce. "You turned the heat up. I turned it down. This is not down. I thought left was down. Why would left be down? Because the numbers rubbed off. Move! Don't take the spoon. Give me the spoon. The smoke alarm chirped again. Then Evan appeared in the doorway. Mom? Every face turned toward me. He did not seem embarrassed by it. The sauce separated, he said. Can you tell me how to fix it? The question was direct. No helpless doorway statement. No assumption disguised as observation. Turn off the heat, I said. Add a spoonful of cold water and whisk it. How much is a spoonful? A tablespoon. Do I use the measuring spoon? You can use any spoon if you know what a tablespoon looks like. I don't. Use the measuring spoon. He nodded and went back into the kitchen. Paula leaned toward me. How does it feel to consult? Expensive. The sauce recovered. Dinner was served at 6:43. Evan carried the platter. Marissa brought the sauce. Paula took the potatoes without being asked, and Ronald carried the green beans. I waited beside the table. There was one open chair between Paula and Ronald. I did not assume. Evan set down the platter and looked at me. Mom, you're there. Nothing in his voice made the place ceremonial. It was simply mine. I sat. The food was warm. The pork was dry enough to require determination. The sauce helped. The potatoes had too much butter, which Paula considered impossible. The green beans were excellent because Marissa had made them. Evan watched me take my first bite. Well, I chewed. Be honest, he said. You'll regret that. How bad? The pig has no remaining secrets. Ronald laughed so suddenly he coughed. Marissa covered her smile with her napkin. I told you the temperature was too high. The recipe said 400. The recipe was for a different cut. Why are there different cuts? I lifted my glass. The cow has circles. The pig has secrets. To mysterious animals, Paula said. We raised our glasses. The tension did not vanish, but it became less interested in controlling the evening. Carol told us she had started taking a painting class. Denise said she had always wanted to paint. Carol reminded her that she had bought supplies 7 years earlier and used the easel to hang scarves. That still involves color, Denise said. Paula described our second trip and claimed I had tried to buy a lamp too large to fit in the car. It would have fit. It was the size of Ronald. Ronald looked offended. I'm taller than a lamp. Not that lamp. Evan asked about trivia. I told them the orthopedic sandals had taken second place the previous week. What was the winning question? He asked. Cheese. Susan had identified a photograph of Mimolette, which looked like a cantaloupe suffering from neglect. She's been training for that her whole life, I said. When I looked up, Evan was smiling at me. Not because I had fixed anything, not because he needed something. He was simply listening. Marissa stood once to get more rolls. Sit, Evan told her. I'll go. I'm already up. You've been up 5 times. So have you. That's because I cooked. That word is carrying a lot tonight. They looked at each other, then laughed. Marissa brought the rolls and sat while they were still warm. The plates emptied slowly. Nobody hurried toward a schedule. There were no favors to distribute, photographs to arrange, or guests waiting for instructions. Denise finished first. She stood and gathered her plate, Carol's and Ronald's. Then, without looking, she reached toward me with the stack. My hands moved automatically. Before I touched the plates, Evan took them from her. She's eating, he said. The words were quiet. No one applauded. No one delivered a speech. Ronald continued cutting his pork. Carol looked down at her napkin. Denise froze with one hand still extended. Oh, she said. Of course. Evan carried the plates into the kitchen. I stared at the half roll in my hand. The sentence traveled backward through the year. She doesn't need a seat. She'll be helping us. She's eating. 3 words did not erase 6. They did not return the first dance, clean the green dress, or change the fact that my son had known. But they meant he knew now. Paula touched her knee lightly against mine beneath the table. I finished the roll. Dessert was a chocolate cake Evan had made from a box. The center had collapsed, and Marissa filled the crater with whipped cream. It's intentional, Evan said as he placed it beside the cabbage bowl. "What do you call it?" I asked. "Volcano cake. Is it supposed to erupt?" "No." "Then crater cake." He lit one candle. Marissa laughed. "Why is there a candle?" "It's an anniversary." "That's not how anniversary candles work. It's how this one works." They blew it out together. The cake was better than the pork. Carol and Ronald left first. Carol hugged me again at the door, less carefully this time. "I owe you an apology," she whispered. "Not tonight?" She nodded. "All right." Denise tried to leave her cookies. Marissa put them back in her hands. "You brought them. They're a gift. They're open. We ate too. Take them." Denise left carrying the container under one arm like a rejected pet. Paula stayed long enough to load the dishwasher, despite insisting she had no idea how their model worked. I carried the cabbage bowl to the living room. "Leave it," she said. "It looks good here." "You're giving it to them?" "No, it's spending the night. That bowl has a fuller life than I do. You need more glaze." She hugged me before leaving. "Are you all right?" she asked quietly. "Yes." That was a meaningful yes or a get off my porch yes? Both. Good. When the door closed behind her, I returned to the dining room. Marissa was wrapping cake. Evan stood at the sink with the remaining dishes. My plate was still at my place, holding a smear of whipped cream and a few crumbs. I picked it up. Evan looked over. "You don't have to." "I know." The words settled differently now. I carried the plate into the kitchen and rinsed it. Marissa watched me, then handed me the lid for the cake container. Not the container, not a new job. Just the lid because it was near me. I snapped it into place. "Would you like some cake to take home?" she asked. "Yes." "How much?" "Enough for breakfast. That's my answer too." She cut 2 large pieces and packed them separately. Evan dried his hands. "Can I ask you something?" "You just did." He looked toward the dining room. Was tonight okay? The uncertainty in his face reminded me of the waiter holding the chair, waiting for somebody else to decide where I belonged. "It was dinner," I said. His expression fell slightly. I touched his arm. "That's why it was good." He nodded. Marissa leaned against the counter. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. And for not fixing the pork. I couldn't bring it back." Evan put a hand over his heart. "One bad meal and everybody's cruel." "It wasn't bad," Ronald called from outside through the still open window. We stared toward the window. "He's still in the driveway?" Evan asked. Carol's voice floated back. He forgot his phone. Ronald appeared at the door, retrieved it from beside his plate, and said, "The potatoes were good." "I made those," Marissa told him. "I know." When he had finally gone, the 3 of us laughed until Marissa had to sit down. I collected my purse and the cake. Evan walked me to the porch. The night was warm, with the dry hum of insects in the shrubs. "I'm glad you came," he said. "So am I." He rubbed one hand along the back of his neck. "When can I see you again?" "Not, are you busy? Not, can you wait for a delivery? When can I see you?" "I have trivia Tuesday," I said, "and Paula wants me to help retrieve her cabbage on Wednesday. That bowl belongs here now. Tell her. I'm afraid of her." "You should be." "Saturday? For what?" "Breakfast. Are you cooking?" "No." "Then Saturday." He smiled. I stepped off the porch, then turned back. 10 o'clock. I'll be there. You're always 3 minutes early. I'll sit in the car. I laughed and walked to mine. My chair remained visible through the dining room window, pushed slightly away from the table where I had left it. No one had removed it. No one needed to explain why it was there.